it's becoming a Christian. I don't think you become a Christian at one moment. I think some people flip the light switch on and it stays on, right?
Yeah.
But I think Christianity is you're always becoming a Christian every single day.
Like you're growing, you mean?
You're growing.
Sure.
You're growing your faith. And
but when I say become a Christian, I mean like
the moment.
Yeah, if you're not a Christian and you die, you're in hell.
Right.
If you are a Christian, you're in heaven.
Right.
So what point for you did you cross the border over to, if I die today, I'm in heaven?
And so I was like, I really liked Al Gore, you know. I was like, I liked what he saw or what he said.
Yeah.
But then he brought in all these people on stage, like Rob Reiner and all these different big celebrities and stuff, and nobody else did that. Like McCain was just like standing right there in front of me, and it was like he was just like a down to earth guy, former military guy. Yeah. And I was like, that's so cool. That's who I want to. So I didn't vote for Al Gore. I voted for McCain.
Okay.
That was my first vote. You know, in 2000.
Nice.
You have to pick sides. Are you going to side with, you know, and it's pretty much one policy right now is immigration in the city. Mm-hmm. What side are you on? You know, and people are going to be asking me in the next 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
Like, whose side are you on?
Right.
Are you with me or against me?
Yes.
You know, and I have friends that if I tell them, you know, I don't want my friends and my students to be deported, then they're going to call me a sellout. Right. And they're never going to talk to me again.
Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to another episode of the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast. Before getting to the conversation, I need to set something straight. I am guilty of spreading false information, not just in this episode, but also while speaking to people over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I'm usually very good about checking my sources, but apparently I fell for it this time. So first and foremost, I apologize. And secondly, I'm happy to announce that Keith Sweat, one of the greatest R&B singers of all time, is not dead. He is very much alive. This is great news. And it's also great news that you're about to listen to a fantastic conversation. But first, please don't forget to share this podcast with everyone that you know, and also don't forget to subscribe to the Why Can't We Talk About That YouTube channel. I love to hear from all of you, so please send me feedback. You can do so at whycan'twetalkaboutThat@proton.me. Lastly, if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at that same email address I just mentioned. If you would like to be a guest, but you have questions or concerns about the process, let me know and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks. Now for the episode. This week I am joined by Doug Silva, a high school math teacher and wrestling coach. Doug has 1 dog, 2 dirt bikes, 3 jobs, and 4 kids. He also enjoys golf, mountain biking, camping, and spending time with his family. I have known Doug since junior high school, and I had a blast chatting with him. Lucky for you, you get to listen in. Enjoy the conversation.
Train them to pick up your stuff.
Right.
You know? And
yes.
But he's like, but with balls, you don't pick them up.
Okay.
Let your kid pick it up and throw it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's like, that was the secret tip.
Okay.
We're recording right now.
Yeah, we're going. So that's something that Pat taught you or what?
It's just when we were kids, growing up, me and him played everything, you know, our parents really didn't do much with sports or anything. Okay. But, you know, 3 brothers, and we played every sport there is you can think of.
Yeah, because you guys are a really sporty family.
Yeah.
Like even watching it, like Brighton's all about watching it, and Pat's all about watching it. Yeah. And you coach stuff, right? Your kids are all in it. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people ask, you know, when they have small children, you know, and I just say that, you know, just if you want them to be sporty, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. I never thought of that.
Hand-eye coordination, all that stuff. You just, hey, there's a ball. Yeah. Or stuffed animals, you know, you're throwing them around with your kid, and me and Brandon do that all the time. And
it kind of makes you wonder how many of these big sporty, like, you know, like Patrick Mahomes, he did that when he was a kid. Like, he's like, oh, my parents never picked up the balls off the ground. I had to throw them all the time. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Well, I think a lot of those pro athletes, like their parents were athletes themselves. You know what I mean? And they you know, and it goes with every family. Parents are musicians. Yeah. Kids are musicians.
Usually,
You know, Tiger Woods trying to train his son to be a professional golfer right now.
Oh, is he really?
And who knows? He could have been an NFL football player. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's training them in that field because that's what he knows.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so the parents, I think they really lead you into what direction they like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, which is interesting because with something like sports, I feel like you need to have more of a talent. And let me explain what I mean. But like, let's say I'm John Bon Jovi, right? And I have a son.
Yeah.
And he aspires to be in a band like me, right? He wants to be a recording artist like I am.
Yeah.
And let's say he's not as good as me.
Right.
He's still going to have a record deal.
Yeah.
Because he's my son. Like, I'm
knows.
still going to pull the strings. I'm going to get him in there.
Yeah.
And there might be some of that with sports, but ultimately a team is not going to want a player who is not good enough to make their team better, right? Like, they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, your son's the worst football player of all time, Tom Brady, but, you know, we're going to put him on because you're Tom Brady.
Unless you're the Lakers.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, they'll do it. But, I mean, it's like, you know.
They're giving Bronny a hard time. You know, he's a great athlete. He's a great player. But he's just not at the level of his dad, which is the guy's the best player of all time. How can you... Like, one of the best, you know?
Okay. I was going to ask you if you hold that position.
No. I mean...
Because people always argue between him and Kobe and Jordan.
I can't stand the GOAT talk in any sport, you know? Like, who's the best of all time? Like, hands down. A few sports you could say it, but not, you know, this is the best player that ever played.
Right.
Ever in the history of the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, there's no comparing. It's not apples to apples.
Right.
You got Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and you're not comparing apples to apples.
No.
Different generations.
Yep.
And you could have an argument for either, you know, with stats and all this other stuff.
Well, they always try to pit them against each other. People always say, well, what if, like, the Jordan of the 90s could play the LeBron now, like, one-on-one? Who would win, they would say, right?
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Yeah. They're both great.
Right.
They're both great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Top 10. Okay, they're my top 10 list. And I saw a poll the other day. It was like trying to pick the best athlete of all time. The best athlete of all time across any sport.
How do you do that?
You know? You can't compare it. It's not apples to apples.
Right.
And my greatest athlete of all time, or I had two that were not even in the top. They're probably not even in the top 100. I saw one, Bo Jackson. They left Bo Jackson out of like the top 100 of all time.
Yeah, because he played both, right?
He played football.
He played them both
baseball.
well.
Yeah.
A lot of them play both, but not well. Like, he was good at both.
Right.
So.
Right.
Okay.
My other one is Kel Sanderson. A lot of people have never even heard of this guy.
I don't know who that is.
And nobody in the world knows who he is. But when you're talking about the best athlete of all time, he was a 4-time national champion in wrestling. In NCAA Division I wrestling. And now he coaches for Penn State.
Okay.
And they are national champions 9 years in a row.
Wow.
So, I mean, athletically, like, you're just focused on the athlete, not your accolades.
Yeah.
Well, accolades is part of it.
Yeah.
But if you have a guy that's, or even a lady, Serena Williams, you know, she's amazing. She's an unbelievable athlete, you know.
Right.
And, there's a couple others in other sports. You know, I watch a lot of gymnastics too. My girls do gymnastics.
Yeah. But see, those are kind of lesser, like, even you mentioned like wrestling, like, obviously not as many people are going to watch wrestling as they watch football or basketball or baseball.
So people don't know who this dude is.
Correct. But you've always been in wrestling, right? I remember you wrestled in high school, I believe, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of where you're at. So you appreciate it.
It's a niche sport, you know. It's like nobody really knows wrestling unless you're a part of it. Yeah. Like in our community, like I pretty much know 90% of the wrestling community in the Central Coast.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because we see each other at tournaments. We, you know, kids coming up and all those things. Yeah, we all know each other. Right. You know, and
it's kind of a sport for the short, stocky guys, right? Right. Because I mean, most of the wrestlers I see, they're just kind of like little tanks. Like they're not real tall. Right. But they're muscular and they can grapple and get in there. And you know, you don't see some tall, lanky, skinny dude usually that's a wrestler. So.
I think quick story. I wrestled at Cuesta College. The basketball team would. We had this. Not a beef, but a friendly rivalry with the basketball team. Right. All the guys were at least 6'8". They had these guys were just huge, and I don't think we had a wrestler over 6 feet tall. You know, it was like the tallest dude on a wrestling team was like 5'8".
That's what I mean. Yeah, and I don't know if I've ever seen one that tall.
It was like, okay, guys, we'll play you in basketball, but you got to come out and wrestle with us one day in practice.
Oh wow!
And we. Call them out, you know. I was in the training room all the time, and you know, I seen there, you know, and they never took us up on the offer.
Okay. Really? They wouldn't do it?
No. Like, we'll play basketball. We can get out there and throw the ball at the basket. We're probably not going to make it.
Right. Well, not with 6'8" guys guarding you.
Right. I was decent basketball. We played backyard basketball.
Sure.
We'd always go. Remember the little dunk courts at the Y?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't dunk. I could touch the net.
Even on the 8-footers?
But I would play. I'd dribble and I could shoot and stuff because we grew up playing every sport.
Right.
And
were all three? Was Greg that way too, or?
Greg wasn't. Yeah, he was pretty athletic.
Okay.
We made up sports. We made up games in the streets, and just we're out doing everything.
Okay.
We throw a basketball and hit it with a baseball bat,
Okay.
Or we played baseball with a golf ball.
Okay.
We grew up right by the Lakeview softball fields.
Yeah, I
down the street.
I remember where you guys lived.
Yeah, you were in the house.
Yeah.
So we were there, me and my brothers and friends and cousins, and we were there like every weekend.
Well, you hit the golf ball through someone's window. That's gonna be a problem.
We'd always make sure we aimed for a window. I think we broke our own windows many times. You could ask my mom. She'd be a great interview. How many windows did those Silva boys break in their lifetimes?
That's awesome.
Too many to count.
Yeah.
Too many to count.
I've been seeing her lately. She's been coming in to get food.
Oh, pizza?
Yeah. So I was like, hey, Gail, how's it going?
Yeah.
The first time she was like, she's like, it's been so long since I worked with her.
Oh, yeah, you work. Yeah.
So, it's been forever since that. But, so... But first, I like to kind of get a little background just on you in general. I mean, obviously, I've known you since, I think, junior high, I think is right. You went to Lakeview, right?
Yeah.
And you were a grade above me, I believe.
Yeah.
Graduated in 95?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Pat was a grade below me. And then I met Greg later at the ranch, but I kind of know all you guys. But, so just kind of, you grow up in this area, right, born and raised?
Yeah, born and raised at Santa Maria Valley Hospital.
Okay.
And I tell people that, they're like, what's that?
They don't even know where that is.
Yeah, they're like, never heard of it because it's long gone,
Right.
And,
I was born there, too.
Right.
Yeah. Who delivered you? Was it Callahan?
I don't know.
Because I just saw him yesterday.
The doctor that delivered you.
Yes, and he delivered my kids. All four of my kids, he delivered all of them.
Okay.
He's got to be in his 90s now. But he was at Trader Joe's pushing his little cart along there. I was like, dude, I haven't seen that guy in forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he delivered like all my cousins and stuff. Okay. So it just seems to be when I know somebody that's from here. Like, who delivered you? Oh, Dr. Callahan. Oh, really?
Did Marion even have a delivery wing back then? Why was everybody born at Valley Hospital?
I don't know.
In the 70s and 80s.
Unless maybe it was like the alternative. Like it was kind of like Marion's because Marion's a Catholic hospital.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't trust Catholics. I don't want to, there might have been that stigma. And they're like, well, I don't want Catholics delivering my baby.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Well, now you can request like any denomination you want when you go into the hospital because they have different people there that
the chaplains, from every faith. Yeah. Which is what it should be.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you can't be like, no, you're going to believe in what I believe in, or you can't come here. That's not the American way. So, so you're married. And you have how many kids?
4.
4 kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Boys, girls.
3 girls, 1 boy.
1 boy. Okay.
Yeah. That's where baseball. It's baseball season. He's 9, and he's just getting into it right now.
Is he your youngest?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 girls. I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't want more than 2. That wasn't part of the plan.
But for us,
3.
Yeah.
And I wasn't planning for a 4th. And
it was a surprise. Kind of.
I guess you could say that.
Okay.
But, we were okay with having 4 kids.
Okay.
It's not a big issue. It's fun. More family.
Oh,
more,
dude. Yeah.
I have a good time, and I like kids. I'm a teacher.
Right.
And if I didn't like kids, and I always tell everybody if one of my kids was, like as a child, as a baby, if they were just nutso, when they're putting them down at night, then I wouldn't have more than 1. You get that one kid that just drives you bananas. But they're all really good babies, and they turn out to be really good kids.
Well, a big part of it's parenting too.
Yeah.
Because I work with people at the library that are younger, and they that generation always says, "Oh, I never want kids. I never want to have kids." And then we'll have kids come to the library that are terrors.
Yeah.
And then they'll say things like, "See, that's why I don't want to have kids." And I go, "I have 4 of them. None of them act like that."
Right.
Right? It's not, kids don't, they're not just born that way, right?
Like yeah.
It depends on how you teach them, you know, and discipline them. And
every day is a training day for a child.
Yes, you know, but there's so many parents who's like, oh, no, I never do anything with my kids. I just put them in front of the TV and that's it.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, then that's why they're terrors, you know? They don't feel love. They don't have discipline. They're not learning anything.
Right.
So you married, was it, what's her name? Janny. Okay. She went to high school with us too, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we graduated the same year.
Okay. Were you guys together in high school?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Funny story. So high school, I was just a jock. I didn't really go to parties or do anything out of the ordinary. Yeah. We can talk about it later, but my testimony, but I...
Oh yeah. We'll get into that.
I was 10 years old and I kind of, I went to church. Mm-hmm. I kind of got out of it in high school a little bit because I was just playing sports, and every weekend there was some kind of soccer tournament or base. Mm-hmm. There's always something going on.
It takes over your life, man. Yeah.
And so I didn't really date too many girls in high school. Okay. You remember I was like the shyest kid in the school. Right. Right. Yeah. They're like, everybody's walking around, say something, Doug. Yeah. And I'm like, there's nothing to say. Right. Everybody gave me the hardest time about being shy. Yeah. So I think I dated 2 girls all of high school. Oh, wow. I had a lot of crushes, but I was never like the one to pull the trigger. It seemed like all the girls I went to school with, they all were dating older guys. They dated and married. A lot of them married older guys from like, 2, 3, 4 years older than me. And they were always they always had boyfriends. It seemed like every girl that I liked always had a boyfriend. Right. I'm like, can't ever buy a break. And it was the same with Janny. It's funny because I dated. Ended up being she had like her little friend group. Mm-hmm. She was kind of shy too, but she had a friend group, and I dated 2 girls in high school, and 2 of them were her friends.
Oh no way! Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And those 2, were they the initiator of that?
No, not at all.
You actually asked them out yourself? I mean, so I'm saying like because you said you were the shy one, so sometimes guys like that, it's like the girls that are outgoing. Yeah, that's how they get girlfriends because they make the first move.
Right. No, I think I did make the first move. I think I did. Pursue the girls, but it didn't last very long. Okay. And I think I dated a couple girls from like other so wrestling, the girls, there was always, they call them the mat maids, right? Yeah. The girls that would follow the team and they keep stats and stuff.
Oh, really?
For these other teams.
Oh, wow.
And there were 2 different girls that I'd go to a wrestling tournament, and this girl was always at the tournament. So, we walked around and held hands or whatever. I don't know if you call it dating or anything. Right. The only time I ever saw these girls was at wrestling tournaments because, I mean, I'm 50, 60 years old. I'm not going to drive to Morro Bay to go, hey, you want to go get some ice cream or something? You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyways, I met Janny at Hancock College. Okay. We actually had a mutual friend and a boyfriend, and we're all like friends and stuff like that. And she always had a boyfriend, right? So she was kind of on the same lines, and she worked at and actually kind of had a crush. She was one of the crushes, Okay. She worked at the Miller's Outpost.
Oh, whoa. In the mall?
And before the mall, even on Broadway.
Oh, no way.
Remember the Broadway where the auto parts stores now, the O'Reilly's? Right. That was the Miller's Outpost.
Yes, I remember that.
I remember going in there and walking around for 20 minutes just looking at stuff and never buying anything.
Because you knew she was there?
Yeah, because I knew she was there, and I told her that. I told my kids the story, She's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But she always had the boyfriend. Right. And so it wasn't until we got to Hancock College, they finally broke up. I think I was like 20 years old. And wow. So then, I don't know, a month or 2 later, I asked her on a date.
You were there for the rebound, dude.
Yeah, I guess so. Nice. So, yeah, it was...
Smooth move.
Yeah. I'm not going to say any names or anything like that. But it's usually, those are the best relationships when you know the person already. Yeah. You know how they are. Right. And stuff like that. You know, you can't really...
You become friends first in a sense. And then,
go up to some random stranger, hey, you want to date me? It doesn't make any sense.
But people do it.
You kind of have to know the person a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I've never understood that people could do that. I've even said if anything happened to my wife and I was thrown into I wouldn't date. I'd be single for the rest of my life. Right. I don't want to go into the dating scene and do this whole no way, man.
Try to date somebody.
Yeah, it just seems crazy out there.
Yeah. I'm already having this talk. My oldest is 16.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so
and a girl. So
so she's really shy too.
Okay.
And I'm like, I didn't have the talk with her, but she's just really shy and just, have any boys asked you? She's been asked by a couple boys, but it's kind of like, oh, Dad, we don't have to talk about that,
right.
I'm like, well, still got a long ways to go until you can, because I always told her you can date when you're 16, when she was a little girl growing up, and stuff like that, and so she kind of held us to that. I'm like, well, now you're 16, and hey, you can date guys.
And has she yet or no?
No.
Okay.
She's gone on a couple dates with some guys that were friends.
Right.
And she went to a dance with one of the guys.
Okay.
And it's just not, it's not her thing.
Yeah.
And she, a lot of the girls she's in school with are boy crazy, and she's not one of those.
Okay.
She does gymnastics 4 days a week.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so she's
at the place in the mall or
in the mall. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gymnastics homework, gymnastics homework, gymnastics homework.
That's good.
Yeah.
And she's disciplined,
So she kind of takes after her mom a little bit, in that way.
Yeah.
But the shyness for me, and the kind of discipline for my mom, because I got a little wild and crazy there for a little while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just I think my early 20s.
Yeah.
We had dated, we kind of broke up, and it was on and off or whatever for whatever reason. But I lived in SLO for a while.
Oh wow.
And I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18. And when I moved back to Santa Maria to go to Hancock College, I did 2 years at Cuesta and 2 years at Hancock, and I kind of alternated.
Okay.
During that time, I always had roommates, and when you're 20 years old, and getting paid minimum wage and paying for school, there's not too much money laying around.
Especially if you're living in SLO.
Yeah, but I always lived with older people, and they always seemed to want to have a good time, and I remember going to hopping in the car and hey, let's go to Mexico. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's do it. Just spontaneous stuff like that.
Wow.
We did spontaneous trips to Vegas and things like that, but they're just you're young and you don't have anything tying you down, and you got to enjoy yourself, and
those are all the stories that we all have that we can look back and say, I'm glad I didn't die when I was doing
right?
There's all that stuff. You're like, how did I survive that?
Right.
But you did. Right. And here you are, and now you have a story to tell,
Right. Yeah. As long as I don't tell the whole story. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
You can only tell so much,
Or what can I remember, that was 27 years ago when I was 21. I'm I can't even remember half the stuff that I did. But
thankfully for me, my wife was with me during that age, because I think it was 18 when we met. I was 18, she was 15 when we met.
All right.
And then I was 20 and she was 18 when we had kids. When she first had our first daughter, she was only 18.
Right.
So we jumped in early.
Right.
So all those kind of early years of that, she was there. So she's able to she's able to remember that stuff.
Right.
And if she was sitting there, I'm telling a story, she's like, actually, honey, it was this, or it happens every day, and I'm thankful for it, because I have a terrible memory with a lot of. I mean, I remember the main stuff, but the details, what restaurant we were at, or. Or, which friends were with us, or that kind of stuff. She always remembers all of that.
Wow.
So it's really nice.
Photographic memory.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's amazing. She still remembers all that stuff. But so you work as a teacher, teaching what subject? Math.
Yeah.
Dude.
So when I was a student in high school,
I hate math.
A lot of people didn't know, but I was a really excellent student.
Okay.
I all A's and B's all the way through high school.
Wow.
I started when I was in junior high.
Okay.
And I told my mom this story. When I was in junior high, and it was either 7th or 8th grade, she told me, I think it was 7th grade, maybe it might have been 6th grade or something like that. I got bad grades. I don't think there was, I got some F's and stuff like that, because I was always a decent student. I always did all my work. But I was going through some stuff, and like most kids do, and I was like, I just didn't want to do any work anymore, I was like, what's the point of doing all this work?
Right.
What do I get out of it?
What's the payoff?
Yeah, I didn't get money. I didn't get rewards. We didn't go out to dinner. I didn't get my thing on the free refrigerator.
Right.
So, what's the point? So I stopped doing all my work altogether.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was a teacher called her and said, hey, he needs to get his stuff together. And she told me, you're not going to play baseball this year.
Ooh.
And so I was like, what would I need to do to play baseball? She's like, get better grades.
Nice.
The next grading period, I got a 4.0. I got all A's, and I was like, and I just came to the conclusion that show up, do your work, listen to your teachers.
Yeah.
Those 3 things.
Yeah.
And I still live to that to this day,
sure.
you know, and I mentor a lot of kids in high school.
Yeah.
And it's show up, you're there every day, do your work, and listen to your teacher, and you'll be fine, you know, and you'll get, you know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or, you know, that's what we call engineers now.
Yeah,
The old school.
Yeah.
But you can survive in school and do well. And so I believe that, you know, and so like I said, it was going back to junior high. I got all the awards and stuff like that. And people were like really proud of me. I think the principal took me out to breakfast.
Oh, no way.
Principal with the breakfast with the principal was
That's awesome.
like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was like Majewski or one of those guys.
Yeah.
Remember those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he took me out to breakfast. And,
Nice, man.
So I was like, wow, this is great. I get stuff.
Right.
You know, so I just kind of bought into that. And so through high school, playing sports, I played 5 sports in high school. And
what'd you play? Wrestling, baseball, what else?
I did soccer and football and golf. I played golf in high school.
Golf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people didn't know that. I was like, and
that's another one of those sports that's not real popular, you know?
Right. In the 90s, wrestling and golf were the lamest sports in the world.
Yeah, those are the ones people made fun of you for. You should play a manly sport, you sissy.
I got made fun of all the time. I had an ear cast in my ear from wrestling.
Oh, yeah?
At the end of the season, you know, I still got the cauliflower ears.
Ear cast?
I had an ear cast because the doctor never saw cauliflower ear before because it was such an underground sport. And then I had to go out and play golf, you know, because it was a transition between golf and wrestling. I was trying to do both sports.
Yeah.
And so I was out golfing with an ear cast on my ear. It was just...
I've never heard of an ear cast. That's so what? Like, because there's no bones in your ear, right? I mean, it's all cartilage.
So your ear just swells up, fills up with blood. It's just just cauliflower ear.
I know what cauliflower ear is, but what's the cast supposed to do?
It was supposed to hold it from swelling up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was supposed to squeeze it, but the actual proper method, they sew it up and put sutures and squeeze the back and the front of it together so it doesn't fill with blood. And there's a doctor that had a gym in Lompoc in his office, in his doctor's office, Dr. Weinstock, and he's drained both of my ears, you know, a couple times and
wow.
and sewed them up, you know, and I was trying to fix them, you know, because like you said, in the 90s, wrestling was lame and having cauliflower ear was even lamer, you know. So I walk around with cauliflower ear, right? And now it's like the coolest thing in the world, you know. It's like if you got cauliflower ear, you know, people are like, you know, watch out for the guys with cauliflower ear,
right?
You know, they'll mess you up or something like that. You know what I mean?
It's like a war wound.
Yeah, you know? Exactly. A battle scar or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I haven't walked around with cauliflower ear, swinging a golf club.
Yeah.
You know, those are my 2 things. You know, I played football for 4 years, but you know, I'm same size that I was in high school. You know, I haven't grown at all. 5'4".
Okay.
And
that's good running back though. 5'4", it's a good little running back. You know.
Yeah, my mom has great stories about running back. You know, when I ran the ball, she's like, they would put that kid in and he get no yards and then they put you in and you get like 10 yards and they pull you out of the game. Yeah. I'm like, I don't remember any of that.
You're like, I don't care.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember my wrestling and golf. Yeah. You know, those were my 2 big
Who
things.
was the golf coach at Rigetti?
So the golf coach was
it Rupsik?
Rupsik was the golf coach my sophomore and junior year, and then one of my teammates' dads helped out. Okay. And then Rupsik got fired. I can tell you that whole story because I was there. I was there when Rupsik got...
Is this when he hit the kid?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize he got fired for that. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. So I think it was my junior year because my buddy Josh J and me and one other kid, we were playing golf. We went to Palm Springs every winter break, or I'm sorry, not winter break. Every Easter break, we went to Palm Springs, and it was right in the middle of the golf season. Okay. So we took Easter, and we went down and played in a couple golf tournaments, and they would write letters to golf courses to let us play for free. We just had to, like, buy a golf club in the pro shop or something like that. Okay. And so we'd fundraise and, you know, bring in all this money to go down and pay for, like, a condo, and he had connections to this condo. We stayed in the same place my junior and senior year. Right. And so we ended up staying down there for 4 days, I want to say, and we were just playing some golf course, out there, and there's water everywhere. And this kid, so me and my buddy Josh are riding the golf cart together, you know?
Yeah.
And this other kid, I don't want to say his name, I can't even remember his name actually.
Yeah.
And Rupsik were in the other golf cart, and we're like on hole 15. We had played pretty much majority of the golf round. And this kid, he hits the ball out in this lake like 200 yards away, right?
Yeah.
And he tells, he goes into his golf bag and grabs another ball to tee it up. And Rupsik's like, son, that's not the rule. The rule is you drop it where the ball entered the water hazard and you drop.
Right.
And you hit from there. That's the rule. You can't re-tee.
Yeah.
Unless you declare it a lost ball, but it's still, that's not the rule.
Right.
He's like, I want to hit another one. He's like, that's not the rule. You got to play by the rules. Golf is a gentleman's game, and he's trying to teach us all this stuff like that. And the kid starts yelling at Rupsik, you know? And I had complete respect for Rupsik. I played football for him. He was my PE teacher. I seen him, you know, threaten kids and stuff like that. Like,
he was gnarly. Yeah.
I'm not going to mess with this dude.
Right.
You know, and this kid got in his face. He grabbed Rupsik's hat and threw it on the ground and stepped on it.
Oh, my gosh.
And Rupsik looked at him, and he just slapped him across the face. It was a slap. It was an open palm, too.
I heard that, yeah.
And it wasn't, like, anything big, and the kid just turned red and was, like, started turning around and went to the golf cart, you know? Yeah. And me and Josh are sitting there looking at each other like...
You're like, what just happened?
I want to keep playing golf. I'm in Palm Springs, you know? I don't want to go in. I'm like...
Okay, see, I didn't realize this happened off... I thought it was on campus that this happened. No. Okay.
Yeah, when you're off campus, you're responsible for the kids, you know?
Right.
And so it turned out lawsuit and all that stuff. Yeah. And so all these things are going around and around, and I was like, there's a lot of hearsay, you know? His word against his word.
Sure.
What happened?
Right.
And nobody interviewed me. Nobody called me.
Ask.
And I'm like, I was right there. I saw what happened.
What about your friend that was in the cart with you?
Yeah, same thing. I just hung out with him. He lives in Redondo Beach.
But they didn't ask him?
And we just talked about it last month.
They never asked him.
You
guys were literally the only two witnesses, and they didn't talk to you.
Yeah. We were the only witnesses.
That doesn't make any sense.
And that's when Rupsik got fired. Okay. I mean, he came back to substitute teach and things like that here and there. But but he was golf coach. Yeah. And he was a teacher. He taught everything under the sun.
Yeah. Is he still alive? Do you know?
He passed away. I went to his funeral. Yeah.
Okay. I was saying, because he was pretty old back in high school.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, but I went to his funeral and saw...
Okay.
I was probably the youngest person there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
there wasn't a lot of students that came to it?
No.
Okay.
Well, a lot of his former athletes, but he coached baseball. He coached Mr. Moore. Oh, yeah. And he coached a lot of guys in the 70s and 80s. And he kind of focused on golf a little more later and football later in his career. Yeah. So a lot of those guys were out there. Yeah. And I knew a lot of them, like my guys that my dad went to school with, stuff like that, and my uncles. Yeah. So a lot of old timers were out there. But
that's crazy.
But that's the story of Rupsik.
That's gnarly, man.
But it was golf, and I was a pretty good golfer.
Yeah.
I was all, strong and because I was in weight room. I was with Montero in the weight room.
Oh yeah.
Every day, I'd go lift weights in the morning. And then I go golf in the afternoon, because of spring season.
Did that throw you off? Because when I played tennis in high school, which is another manly sport.
Yeah.
And we got made fun of for that. But I mean, like if I ever had to lift weights before I played tennis,
right,
dude, it threw off my whole game.
Like, your flexibility.
Yeah, it was weird. Like I would swing too hard or not hard enough, or it was weird, and that would last for like an hour or so after lifting weights.
I had to do tons of stretching and stuff like that. Okay. But golfing, I'm a 3 handicap now, and so it's that, I don't know if you're familiar with golf, but
not really.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty good at the one on Wii.
Yeah. The Wii golf.
Yeah. Do you still play then? You go out to Rancho?
Yeah, I go out and play whenever I can, and it's like riding a bike for me, because I've been playing since I was 12 years old. Yeah. Because I played baseball, and then we'd go golf like Sunday night, like tonight. I'd go out and play golf.
Oh, nice.
In the evening, and when the sun went down, and just...
That's the best time, probably. Yeah, that's the best time of day anyway.
Yeah.
My mom worked at the restaurant out there for a while.
Oh, wow.
At Rancho. Okay. So you might have seen her.
I'm sure.
If you ever went in
there. I've been going out there for forever.
She was there for a couple of years. Yeah. She's not there anymore. My aunt worked out there too.
Oh, okay.
My aunt's name is Tina. I don't know if you know Adam Hampton.
Yeah.
So that's his mom.
Yeah.
Adam's my cousin.
Oh, okay. I
don't know. Yeah. So, my mom had 2 sisters, and one of her sisters is Adam's mom. So.
Yeah. I think I just saw him there having a cornhole competition over here.
Oh, yeah. Dude, and
I think that's his thing.
And he's hardcore into that, dude.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I drove by and saw him.
Yeah, it's funny. We had at the church that I was going to prior to where we are now. We were over at the harbor, just on Foster over there, by the Yo-Yo.
Yep.
And we just had a cornhole tournament for the just for the church and stuff.
Yeah,
but like people came from other like the pastor's friend from like Santa Barbara came up with his family. Two person teams, right?
Yeah.
And I suck. I'm the worst cornhole ever of all
You're happy
time.
when you hit the board.
I am happy when I hit the board, dude. Exactly. I'm even happy if it hits the dirt and then crawls up onto the board. That even makes me happy.
Yeah.
But I'm terrible. So I just had a thought. I was like, what if I brought Adam in to be on my team? Because then we might balance each other out.
Right.
Because I suck and he's really good. Maybe we'd be mediocre.
Yeah.
So, dude, we just smoked everything.
Yeah, you're like, that's all me.
Dude, it wasn't even close. I felt so bad. And a lot of the other teams, they're looking at me like, dude, Hester brought in this ringer, And it's like, oh, my God.
They're like, hey, dude, what church do you go to? What church are we at right now? Yeah. He doesn't even know.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And I was just, I kind of felt bad. But it was fun. It was all good fun. But, yeah.
It reminds me of, have you met Nate Rogatsky?
Yes.
Yeah.
We just saw him in Paso.
Yeah, you did? You went to it?
Were you there?
I didn't go.
Okay,
we're just way too busy.
Yeah, we went and saw him live. It was great.
Yeah, I've seen all this stuff. But church league basketball, he's like, I played basketball growing up. I won a league, but we played on carpet,
right?
I totally know what court you're talking about. It's across the street from Olive Garden. I know that basketball court.
That's so funny, man. Yeah,
he's a good dude.
I have to listen to more of his stuff because I hadn't heard really any of it until that.
Okay.
Night. My friend.
So you had no idea who he was?
Well, I heard a little bit because, like I said, my friend. Because I love stand-up, especially clean stand-up. I love Brian Regan is one of my favorites.
I've heard all this stuff.
Yeah, he's great. I have everything by him. I saw him at Solvang.
Yeah.
He played in Solvang a couple years ago. But my friend Ben, his favorite comedian of all time is Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about him. So he kind of sent me a clip and I watched part of it and I watched a little bit. So I saw a little bit here and there, but I definitely have not seen a lot. So in fact, everything that I saw that night in Paso I'd never heard before.
Right.
It's all brand new and it was hilarious and I was crying.
You cried
so hard. Oh my gosh, dude.
That's what it's all about, man.
It's so funny,
If someone makes you laugh.
Yes. And I have so much respect for people that can do that without the filth. Like you don't have to be raunchy to be funny,
Right.
So it's just, I think it takes more because there's a certain part of the population that just thinks cuss words are funny.
Right.
Like, it's like the guy's not even talented. He's just saying the F word over and over again or talking about sex positions or something.
Right.
And everyone in the audience, it's like, you didn't even tell a joke.
Right.
It's not even a joke, So when you listen to people like, Jerry Seinfeld's pretty clean. Jim Gaffigan's pretty clean, his later stuff, Guys like that, dude, they're so funny.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do it at the expense of being raunchy. And I really respect that, So.
Yeah, I've always listened to clean comedy. I wasn't, and I never really used profanity. I think I called my brother. My grandmother was watching us one day, and I called my brother something,
Yeah, something nice.
And then my grandma heard it.
Yeah.
And my Portuguese grandma that taught me all the cuss words in Portuguese, by the way. Or maybe it was my grandfather, but they use profanity all the time. And because I heard it growing up.
Yeah.
And so I cussed him out or something. And she's like, "Do you know what you just said?"
Oh, you said it in Portuguese?
No. Well, I don't remember what it was, but it was bad. But
right. But it was in Portuguese.
But she told me that I think she said she explained to me what I had said, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna cuss anymore. And I think from that day forward, I did a little bit,
sure,
but it was like I kind of dropped it,
Yeah.
And people that know me and know that I don't cuss, My kids will tell you, they never heard me cuss.
Yeah.
Like HELL hockey or double hockey sticks, right?
Yeah.
I might have said that once or twice, They call me out on it.
Yeah.
What'd you just say, Dad? I'm like, it's okay. We're not in kindergarten
You're
anymore.
like, I'm talking about the place.
Yeah.
The place. That's in the Bible. That's okay to say. And have you noticed people that, because I'm that way too. I don't use profanity, but and people start to know that.
Yeah.
The more they get to know you, and then when they first meet you, they might be like, oh, effing, and then after a while, they kind of stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't ask them to stop, but they just stop because they're like, oh, I guess this guy doesn't talk that way,
Right.
So it's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing to have happen.
It's nice to have that personality, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm not going to persecute you if you talk like that, either. You're like, hey, you're going to hell.
Yeah,
you know,
right. That's it. It's done for you, man. You're over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think that's gonna happen anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but so I cussed and I kind of stopped using profanity, and that turned me on to clean comedy. You know, and that turned me on to Christian music. You know, and it started. You know, I think it hit me like 21, 22 years old when me and Janny got a place together.
Okay.
That's when.
This is when you started getting into Christian music, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
So you're in your early 20s?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was probably around the same time as me then. Like, what, K-Life was big on the radio
K-Life,
station.
yeah, I had a K-Life bumper sticker. You know, I gave him. I had $20. I gave him $20. He mailed me a bumper sticker.
Isn't that great? It's a really expensive bumper sticker, man. Yeah. K-Life was great, though, because we used to go down there, because this is when I was a brand new Christian. I was like 24 when I got saved, and my wife was around the same time. And it was probably 2000, like 2002, 2003. Like, and K-Life, you could go down there.
Right.
And like we used to help with the phones and stuff, and they give you free CDs. Every Christmas time they do the cookie exchange.
Right.
If you brought in a dozen cookies, you could take some cookies and they would give you all these free CDs.
Right.
It was great, dude. It
so
was
cool,
awesome.
local place.
Yeah, it was neat. You know, I mean, K-Love's fine and Air One and all those ones are cool too, but it's like this one was like personable. Like I could go in there and talk to these people. Right. Like they knew me, and it was like
I called in a couple times.
Yeah.
You know, when I was young.
Yeah. See, that's so awesome. So let's go before we get into your early 20s and get into Christian music. Like, what generally kind of music were you into back in the day? Like earliest memories of like stuff you liked.
Yeah, so it was 70s and 80s. You know, I mean it was kicking the pants because everybody calls it 90s music.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, we really listened to 80s music. You know, like 90, 91, 92.
Sure.
And I got to high school. It wasn't until I think 94 when music started becoming 90s music, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we still kind of listened because all the 80s was really popular. But right around that time is when I forgot who it was. I think it was my sister. She had like
wait, you have a sister?
Yes, we have an older sister.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the three boys.
Yeah, so stepsister.
Oh, okay.
She's 52, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's older.
So when your mom remarried, her new husband had a daughter.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
She had one kid. But my sister.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And she has a lot of wild stories about us raising havoc, man. That was just wild. Mm-hmm. You know, she just took a back seat, you know. It was like, just go outside and leave me alone. You know, pretty much kind of thing, you know, because she was older.
For sure.
I forget why I was talking about her.
Oh, you were talking about her musical tastes that were.
Oh, so she listened to like Depeche Mode and.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A lot of alternative like punk and stuff like that, and she dyed her hair black, and she was like really into punk, and she had all the punk posters and stuff like that.
Nice.
And so I kind of, you know, you're around it, so you hear it.
Yeah.
And she had this speaker, like this old school speaker that she would blast music on, you know, and I'd hear it, you know, because us boys, we all shared a room, and she had her own room.
Of course.
And, well, I'm not going to share a room with her, you know, but she would blast the music on this speaker, and she had this old school, you know, stereo from the 70s that just had, you know, like 200 watt stereo, you know, those old school ones, and super heavy.
Yes.
And, but she would blast music, and I can't remember. I think it was junior high, actually. Mm-hmm. Was it? I can't remember the name of the group. The Back to Life song.
Oh, Back to Life.
You got it. You got it. Yeah.
Who is that? That's like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, I was gonna say Soul to Soul or something like that.
It is Soul to Soul.
Right.
You're right. Yes. Oh, wow. That is who it is.
I'm better than I thought.
Yeah. There you go, dude. Yes. Nice.
But so that song, I remember we were like junior high dance or something like that. Okay. And I remember the DJ had that big sound system, and it started like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, I kind of like that.
That's a dance song right there.
So
dude. Yeah.
I went out and bought like the tape.
Okay.
Right? I was like, I got to have this tape.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
The cassette? The
little tape cassette,
awesome.
Right? So I bought the Soul. I probably still have it somewhere.
Nice.
I don't know. It's buried in there somewhere. Yeah. And I came home. I put it on her stereo and just cranked it. It was like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And she's like, I didn't know my speaker could do that, you know? And I'm like, from then on, I mean, she ended up moving out and stuff, and she hand me down speaker, and then Gray got it, and I mean, from there on, it was all rap.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
it was all rap music. It was all about the beat and the bass and all those things. I had no idea what they were saying, and then after a while you start listening to it, and you start knowing the lyrics and stuff like that. But,
so it's like late 80s, early 90s then? So what kind of rappers are we talking about at that point?
Right about that time. So, you want me to rap?
You gonna bust one out for me or what?
So the Rapper's Delight.
Okay.
It's 18-minute song.
Yeah.
Right.
That's who is it? That's oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. That's the hip hop hippie. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to rap it all the time.
Nice, dude.
And when I was
Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah, the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yep.
So I'd always rap the rap, and it was like, and that's when I started getting into lyrics, you know.
Okay.
And so I would always rap the rap, and so I could rap like a lot of stuff, you know. And
oh yeah.
I told my students there a while back, they were talking about like rap or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't know my rap name?
What is it? You have a rap name?
Dougie
Fresh?
Dougie Fresh was already taken.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
So you had to do something else.
So I was Dougie Fresh Baller or something like that.
Oh, you still put the fresh in there?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. Or maybe it's something to do with math. I can't remember what I.
You could have been like Dougie Not So Fresh, or something. You know, Dougie Stank.
There was a Dougie Fresh though, a rapper back then.
Oh yeah, he's one of the originals.
Yeah, so that was my early. I didn't choose them as my top 5 of all time though.
Oh well,
just rap because my life has changed. You
sure,
know, and,
sure, yeah.
Back then, you know, Dr. Dre and Tupac.
Right. Yeah. Kind of.
I knew all
prime.
of them. You know what's funny? I had bought the Wu-Tang CD.
Oh, the 36 chambers or
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. So I had bought that, and I remember back then I was like, they were like the best rappers, right? Because they would just rap about anything, and you never heard the same line twice.
Yeah.
Anyways, my kids had asked me, they're like, what'd you listen to? You know, so I pulled out the Wu-Tang CD, put it in my truck, and I started playing it, and I turned it up. It's all bumping, you know, like this and that. Yeah. And then every other word's like a cuss word. I was like, I don't think I'm going to play this anymore.
Did your kids say anything? Were they like, Dad?
I don't think they said anything. I think I shut it off.
Oh, okay.
You know? But I was like, man.
You kind of forget what's in there, you know?
You are what you listen to, kind of, in a way, you know? And so I was like...
that's a huge influence.
So from 15 to 20, you know, I didn't use profanity, but I would listen to it, but I would rap it. You know, because that's what I heard. Like, Ice Cube, Today Was a Good Day. You know, I knew every word of that song, and I could probably do it right now if I wanted to, but we don't have time for that.
Yeah. Yeah, Ice Cube is still, I mean, just, did you see him play when he played here in town?
No, I didn't go to that.
I didn't go either.
Yeah. I figured they're
not really our scene anymore, right?
Well, it's not my thing, and then now, from what I understand, at concerts, everyone gets high and everyone fights.
Yes.
Those are like 2 things that you have to do at a concert.
Yes.
You know, you got to get high and you got to fight. And there's weed everywhere. This is what people tell me. I haven't been... My last concert was... I didn't go... what happened? Lauren Daigle and State Fair?
Yeah.
I don't think there was any weed at that concert.
I would hope not. Yeah.
But we went to John Mayer, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
I don't think... That was my last concert, you know. So...
Okay.
That was a dozen years ago. Okay. Probably.
Yeah. That's
you know, I let the kids go. You know, I'll take them to the Mid-State Fair. I'll drive over there. And they go in and whatever.
They'll play at the rides and stuff before the shows. And then...
You know, I've never been to the Santa Barbara Bowl.
I haven't either.
I've lived here my whole life.
Me too. I've never been there, and there's been so many awesome bands that have played there, and I've never been.
I was like looking. It was April or something like this last year, and the Goo Goo Dolls were playing at Santa Barbara Bowl, and I was looking for it, and it was like. It just felt like a Thursday night or something like that. And I was like, I'm gonna reserve these. I'm gonna buy these. You know, it's probably a one-time thing. You know, and I just want to take my kids and
band like that. Who knows if they'll ever play again?
Yeah, I was like, it didn't happen.
No.
So
now, does Janny like the same kind of music as you? Like, would you guys go to a concert and still enjoy the same music together, or would she be like, oh, I'm going because I want to go with you, but I don't really like this?
We kind of like the same music. The only music she doesn't like is I kind of like, you know, I like punk. Yeah. In a way, or metal or whatever. Sure. Yeah. You know, it just gives me hype. You know, like riding the dirt bike.
Oh, it's pump up music. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna go ride and I'm gonna listen to it. Go ride my dirt bike. Or I haven't ridden it in quite a few years, but it's covered up in the shed. I still got it. I got 2 dirt bikes actually. Yeah. But you know, it always got me fired up. And whenever I play it.
She's not a fan, huh?
She's not a fan. Yeah. She's like, I just don't like that. I just can't get into it. You know?
My wife's the same way. She doesn't like any of the
And our cousin,
stuff.
Hostile Takedown. You know,
oh yeah,
band. Yeah. So
who's your cousin?
Ron Vicente.
Oh, okay.
He plays the guitar.
That's the one that Billy Noble's the drummer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Billy and Jason.
Okay.
Jason Turner.
Yeah.
So they play a lot of local stuff.
Yeah,
they got a lot of. He's had different people come and go, but they're been pretty consistent for about the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, I've heard I've never seen them live, but I've heard some of their stuff online because I've had a few people on this show that are big fans of them, or they know all the guys personally or whatever.
Yeah, I've gone to a few shows.
Okay.
He played for his daughter's graduation party.
Oh, no way.
He's like, I'm going to play for your graduation party. You know?
That's so cool.
And she's all into it, you know?
Yeah.
So we had about 30 people in his backyard. He just opened the sliding window, you know, and plays right there.
And of course, the neighbors are all really happy about it.
Oh, they love it.
They just think it's great. You know? Okay, so we go into rap. You get into rap.
Right.
And then at what point did you kind of... Well, first of all, tell me some of your... you mentioned Ice Cube. You mentioned Tupac, Snoop, Dre. Like, are those some of your favorites from that era, or do you have any others?
At that time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But my favorite of the era, a lot of people probably never heard of, is called Tribe Called Quest.
Oh, love it, dude.
Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory.
Midnight Marauders. Yeah.
Beats, Rhyme, and Life.
Okay.
Because they rapped about everyday things. Kind of like, it reminded me of like Nate Bargatze, you know, talking about comedy. Mm-hmm. They rapped about everyday things.
Yeah.
Like going to the store and you know, doing stuff, you know, and like driving your car. You know, it's just like, and they were pretty clean too.
Yeah, they were.
That's what drew me in, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I was really into, I had all their CDs, you know, in my 20s.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
Had the Honda Accord.
Oh,
I don't know.
Nice.
I got it when I was, I got a hand-me-down truck from my brother Greg. He went into the Army when he was 18. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stories about the little Chevy S10. It was like 85 Chevy S10. Yeah. It was a piece of junk. It was the worst. You didn't even need a key to start the car.
No?
Right? I would you just turn it and crank it over, you know.
So anybody could turn it.
I didn't even carry a key. So I had a little tape deck, and I had a little like Walkman CD, you know.
Yeah.
And you had that little wire that connected to the tape deck, and you put the tape deck in.
Yes.
And so you could play CDs after a while.
Yep.
So I had that
play through the cassette.
Right. So I had that in the truck.
Okay.
And so I'd play, you know, the rap, and then I had like these big woofers in the back, you know, because it had an extra cab. Mm-hmm. So there's no seat in the back. And so I had the woofers back there. And so no key, no nothing. I was like, if anyone wants to steal it, they can have it. I mean,
right.
Truck's worth $100. You know what I mean? It was like, so that was my first car, actually.
Okay.
And Greg went into the Army, gave me the car. Mm-hmm. He didn't need a car in the Army.
Right.
And so I drove it 16 years old, sophomore in high school.
Okay. You drive it to school?
I drive it to school. Okay. Yeah, I call it the AB car, man. Nice. I drove it one time. My dad lived in Rio Grande. Mm-hmm. I drove it up there one time, and it caught on fire.
Oh, no.
Pat was with me, actually.
Oh, really?
I'm driving up there, and I get off on, we're driving on the freeway, and all of a sudden the cab starts filling with smoke. Oh, my gosh. You know? And I'm driving that. I look back, and I see a little flame coming out from through the cab between the bed and the cab.
Oh my gosh, dude! And
so I pull over right there at Los Barros Road. There's that wide open area.
Yeah.
And I pulled over and parked there. And then we're trying to flag people down. Fire! Anybody who carries a fire extinguisher in their car?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And all these people are driving by, and this guy stopped. And he took like one of those big heavy blankets out, and he starts hitting it.
Yeah.
On the side of the car, and he's like, "It's by the gas tank. It's gonna blow."
Oh no!
And I'm like, "This is an adult man."
Yeah.
And I'm a 16-year-old kid, you know. Like, so we took off running. We're like, "The car's gonna blow up."
Yeah.
Who knows? It could have. You know.
Did the guy stay there to bat the fire out?
No,
he went running with you.
He jumped in his car and took off.
Oh, okay.
And so finally, like, someone had called an ambulance or a fire engine.
Yeah.
They came and put the fire out, and they're like, "All right, you're free to go. Fire's out." And it turned out there was like some cardboard. There was cardboard in between the bed of the cab that we did dump runs and stuff like that all the time. And so it was just sitting on the muffler, just caught on fire and started burning the truck.
Okay.
You know, and the fire department put it out in like 2 seconds. You know, but
that's scary though when it happens.
Yeah. But in all the chaos, this woofer, it was actually my sister's stereo. Mm-hmm. She gave it to me. Mm-hmm. Like 2 10-inch woofers. There's this big speaker box. and it weighed like 150 pounds. Seriously, you can ask Pat, man.
Yeah.
And I had it behind the seat. Well, after the fire department came and put out the fire, they're like, all right, you're free to go. So I need to go get my speakers out that I pulled out of the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Or the cab of the truck.
Right.
And we start walking around, and I can't find the speakers anywhere. And I'm like, where's the speakers at? I picked up this speaker box. It was over 100 pounds, right? 150 pounds. And I chucked it. It was a little on the side hill, so I just give it that. But I threw it and went down this hill, bounced down this hill. The speaker box was like 50 feet away from the truck. I had to go get it, and I had to have him help me put it back. You know how you get all this adrenaline? They talk about superhuman strength or something?
Yeah.
I launched it. I thought, I was like, am I the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
I wish I could use that in my wrestling match.
Oh, that's awesome.
But, the speaker box got tossed pretty good. I was like, yeah, I'm a man.
So, did it work still or no?
It still worked.
Okay.
Yeah, because I pulled it out when the fire was starting, when I pulled over. But that was one story. Another story, I pulled up at a grocery store and my door fell off. I opened the door and the door fell off. I threw it in the back of the truck and drove around without a door. And
just like the hinge. Was that Tommy Boy?
Yeah, I was Tommy Boy for it.
What did you do?
That's a great movie.
Oh yeah, it's classic.
I've seen Tommy Boy, Dumb and Dumber.
Dude, yeah, those are movies I could probably quote verbatim, just every single line. Yeah, it's so funny, dude.
So that was the first car, and then my second car was after that. My mom had a 1990 Honda Accord, and so she drove it for 5 years. And then in 1995, she wanted a new car, and she had this little Honda Accord, and so I ended up buying it from her. So I had worked, I was a paper boy. I did side jobs and like fences and roofs and stuff. And so I saved up $2,000. I gave her $2,000, and she took the money, put a down payment on a new car.
Okay.
And so she gave me the car for $2,000, and I ended up like saving money, and I ended up fixing it up. So I lowered it.
Nice.
I put tinted windows all the way around. I had a spoiler. I had to put in a sunroof.
Nice.
And I just cherried it out.
Did you have the booming system in there too?
I had the system,
Nice,
and so I was the cool kid with the cruising Honda Accord. I don't think I had it. I think it was after high school. I think right after high school is when I ended up like souping it up and all that stuff and put exhaust on it.
That's awesome.
It's funny, every time I see a car with exhaust, I'm like, oh, cool. That's a neat car, and I'm like, and I'm like, wait, that was me.
Yeah, it's funny how we mature and we're like, we look at ourselves back then and we're like, oh, what a loser.
Yeah. What a loser with
but we were
exhaust.
cool.
Wait, that was me.
We were cool back then. That was the cool thing to do. Yeah. I never understood that. My cousin did that to his truck, to where he had he put the, what do they call it, glass back or glass pack or whatever on the to make
to make it loud.
Yeah, and I'm like, how much you pay for that? He's like 100 and something. I said, you paid that much money to make your car sound like it needs a tune-up?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do
vacuum
that?
Cleaner, just glorify.
Yeah, exactly. But when that's kind of the trend and that's what everybody thinks is cool, you just kind of follow along, go with it. So
so I did that, and so you were in high school economics, right?
Yeah.
They had the stock market game. And I had
in the class.
Was that
Mr. Harmon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Wagner or Harmon, both of us taught the economics class.
I think I had Harmon I had Wagner for government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it must have been Harmon. Anyway, stock market game.
Yeah.
I played these stocks, and I had saved up money, and I had like $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. And my dad was into investing. He would buy and sell real estate and stuff like that. And he's like, you should put money in some stock. I'm like, all right. And I'm doing the stock market game, and I gained money. Like it's like a 3-week or 6-week thing. And I was gaining money. And anyways, I had $1,000, and my dad convinced me to put $1,000 into Oracle stock.
Oh, okay.
So I put it in the Oracle. It was everything was going technology and stuff like that. And like that was 94, 95.
Right.
And so I put the money in the stock, and I doubled my money.
Nice.
And I took out $2,000. Right, I withdrew all the money. I doubled the money.
Yeah,
so I took it out. Guess what I did?
You blew it.
I bought rims for the Honda.
Oh, really? Like what kind of rims? Like Dayton's?
So I had the chrome. So everybody back in those days, everybody wanted the little tiny rims.
Yeah.
With the little tiny tires.
Yeah.
I wanted the big rims.
Okay.
And so I wanted 15-inch rims.
Okay.
15-inch chrome rims were like the big deal back then.
Yeah.
So I go into the shop. The guy that did my sunroof, the guy that did my tent and all that stuff. He was a local guy, and he knew me by name at the time. And then I go in, and I'm like, hey, I want some rims. I want some 15-inch. He's like, I just got some 16s in, dude. You're going to love these.
Nice.
So I'm like, all right, how much are they? He's like, they're $1,400. I'm like, I'll take them, put them on.
Yeah.
Well, how much are the tires? $1,400.
Oh man.
Yeah, those low profile tires because they barely fit on the car.
Sure.
So I was like, he's like, you're the first one. He's like, those just came in. We just made them 16-inch rim because the biggest you could get was 15-inch rims at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like,
you were a trendsetter.
I thought I was the coolest kid in town.
You were, man. Yeah.
And everybody wanted to ride around with me and drive around town, Santa Maria.
Yeah.
You know, and we cruised Broadway.
Would you do the cruise?
Like
I was going to ask you.
With the stereo.
Nice.
You know? And I drove slow. Okay, that was another thing that I drove really slow. So I was a real cruiser. I always drove 5 miles per hour under the speed limit.
Nice, dude.
And I kind of have a backstory to it.
Is that because you're trying to be safe?
Yeah, that was number one. And I've rubbed off on everybody I know. So when I was 15, I think I was 15, my cousin, we had a cousin that died in a car accident. She graduated from Rigetti.
Okay.
And then I think it was November, right around early November, she died in a car accident.
She's older than us?
She's older, yeah. Okay. So we have a cousin, James Silva.
Oh, yeah.
His sister, Erin. She passed away when she was 18.
Oh, wow.
And I was like 15. And our elders, uncles and all that stuff, they thought all of us were going to kill ourselves driving.
Oh, okay.
And she lost control, and there was a baby in the car.
Was like a single car?
It was out towards Guadalupe somewhere.
Okay.
Her niece or her cousin, she had a cousin that lived in Napomo, and she was watching the baby, and she was driving back and lost control and hit a telephone pole. But I was only 15, and so I saw that.
Yeah.
And James, me and James were really, really close. At those times, like we call him our fourth brother.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, that inspired me just to drive safe.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I was never in a hurry, and I kind of have that personality that was never like really fired up to do anything.
Are you still like that now?
Yeah.
Are you still pretty chill? You're just like, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, pretty much no rush. You know, I'll drive 70 on the freeway if I need to, and if I get in the fast lane, I'll speed up so people aren't flashing their lights at me.
Right. Yeah.
I'll get back in the slow lane.
Yeah.
But I like to drive like 68.
Okay.
If I'm in the slow lane, driving 68. There's always someone going 60 or 65, so I got to get in the fast lane, and I got to accelerate, to 80, because that's how fast everyone drives in the fast lane.
Yeah.
So it's either you're going 60 or 80. You can't go in between.
But so when you drive like that, does your wife like appreciate that, or is she kind of make?
Oh yeah, I rubbed off on her. She drives slow
really?
too. Yeah.
Okay.
All my friends and family, like Pat and Greg, they drive slow. Greg drives slower than I do.
Really?
Yeah. He drives 65, man. He's just like he's cruising it. Yeah. He don't even care, man. The car's behind him. We're in the fast lane. He's like, they can go around. He's like, I don't care. We were driving somewhere. We had the dirt bikes in the back because we did a lot of riding together, and we're driving. He's driving and. He passes a car, and he starts to get over in the slow lane. I'm in the passenger seat, and this car behind us they were in a hurry, man. They cut in between us. We're in the fast lane. He starts edging over to the right lane, and this car passes us, and he just kept going, and that car kept going. They're off in the dirt, and they're just flipping us off,
really?
while they're driving. I'm sitting in the passenger lane like, Greg, watch out for this car, and he's like, they're fine. They can go around,
That's true though, because Greg is pretty chill too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a pretty just kind of mellow dude, from what I know of him anyway.
Yeah, he's got a short fuse though.
Does he really?
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
He really does, yeah.
But again, I think of the three of you, I probably know him the least because he was older than us. I never went to school with him, right? Because I think he was already graduated when I was a freshman.
Right.
Because he must have graduated like 92, 91, 92.
93.
Oh, 90. Oh, he was 93. Mm-hmm. Okay, then he did go. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Because I had a cousin who graduated in 93.
Oh, okay.
And he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Right.
But I never knew him until I worked. He was a security guard at the ranch.
Right.
And that's when I first met him.
Yeah.
And that's where I met James too. Because he was in the fire department.
Yeah, their whole family worked there.
Yeah, right.
I just volunteered.
Yeah.
I just volunteered when they had parties. And they needed someone
for the fun stuff. Yeah.
They needed someone to play music.
Okay.
On the bumper car. So I was like, that's me.
That was the fun ride, dude. I used to run the Sea Dragon too. That one was fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. The one with the loud stereo.
Yeah. Like, the stereo system in the bumper cars was epic.
Yeah.
Especially when you got the smoke machines going and you got the strobe light and all that stuff. It was such a cool place.
I was like a real DJ.
Yeah.
Man.
You felt like it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This is the best volunteer job in the world.
Oh, dude, when we used to have events and then Big Al would like let us either before or usually after the event was over.
Yeah.
He would let us and and our guests that we brought out, like to volunteer to run rides, like the people we would invite, he would let us all ride rides for a couple hours after the event was over, right? As like a thank you for helping out. And dude, the bumper cars was always the funnest. Man. We'd get in there and we'd just be
they were so slow and lame, but when you turn out the lights and turn up the stereo,
dude, it was epic. And plus they had the microphone up there, so we used to do like I don't know if you remember Julio. Worked in the park with us. He was like, we would do the karaoke kind of stuff. Like we would.
That was the guy with the amazing voice, right?
Well, he won some karaoke tournament.
Yeah, he had an amazing voice. I remember that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So man, professional DJ out there. That was good times.
Makes you feel good, you know. So what eventually kind of? At what point did you kind of come out of the rap stuff and
graduate?
Graduate, right? I hate to say graduate because it wasn't like it wasn't good music, but like because I guess because I can relate. Because for me, my whole early life was nothing but rap. I wouldn't even look at anything, listen to anything else that wasn't rap. But then there was some point in the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s, where that started to shift. And then I started to get into some of the grunge and some of the rock and some of the, Metallica and that kind of stuff. So for you, like what kind of stuff brought you into other areas? Well, you said you were listening to punk and stuff from your sister.
Right. And well, that didn't last long. And when the rap came along, that stuff was gone.
Before
the
rap.
The U2 and what was the there were a bunch of groups that she had listened to, like more of the underground punk stuff like that. But I pretty much moved on from rap, from punk and rap, and just transitioned to like more like it was mid '90s. So I was more into like. So I dated 2 girls in high school, and then after high school, I dated lots of girls. In between, like before I met Janny. Right. But I was like more R&B, more like soul and stuff like that.
Like the '90s stuff, which was more good,
of the So it was a good time, and I was more, I wanted to be a romantic or something like that, dude. So I some of that. I didn't really get into any of the top 40, I am now. I really love the 90s now. But at that time, it's nostalgic now. But back then, it was like, whatever,
So what was some of the singers and stuff that you liked back then, the soul R&B stuff?
I would say Boyz II Men, Keith Sweat, and
he just died. Did you hear he just died?
Really?
Keith Sweat died last week.
No way. Okay.
I haven't figured out, like, all I keep seeing is that he was rushed into emergency surgery, and he died in surgery.
Wow.
But I can't figure out why he was rushed to emergency surgery. That's the information I can't get.
Right.
Yeah, he was only like early 60s, I think. He wasn't that old.
And what kind of got me into it, I wrestled 2 years in Questa, played golf for 2 years at Hancock before I transferred. And I had a mentor, and he's like, you're going to work for the rest of your life, and you're going to meet girls for the rest of your life. Now's the time to play sports. So I did it as much as I could. So playing golf at Hancock, I met this guy at the golf course. He played college golf, and he kind of mentored me in golf. And that's when I got really good at golf, 18, 19, 20 years old. And he was 30 years old. And he took me kind of under his wing and stuff like that. And he was a singer on the side.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it was like he had his own R&B music. And so that's kind of when I really got into it. And it's, they were still bass, so I could still pump it up on my Honda Accord,
Sure, yeah.
And just listen to that music. Nice, and so he had his own stuff, and so I kind of got into more like Luther Vandross and like some of that stuff, just like... I can't remember all of.
It was like back then. It was like Jodeci, like Silk, Shy, All for One.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, well, I love '90s music, especially that kind of that soul R&B stuff because I don't think anybody's really been able to
recreate it.
Yeah, like a lot of the newer singers and stuff. It's similar, but it's just not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah, that old stuff. Like Keith Sweat again is just fantastic.
Yeah, so that was a good time. That was that was kind of later '90s, when it was catching steam, right? And then I think right around '99 is when I started transitioning to punk. That's when I started riding dirt bikes and.
Oh, you came back into the punk stuff later.
Yeah, I came back, came full circle.
Okay,
and it was more just like, it was more like people wouldn't call it punk, but
like poppy punk,
Linkin Park and all these other groups, and just. Stuff like that. And System of a Down. And like
more like hard rock kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not a genre person.
Yeah, no, those two bands right there are awesome. Linkin Park, dude, their first album is just phenomenal. Yeah. In fact, I remember I was working at the ranch when that came out.
Yeah.
And I used to play that on the Sea Dragon. Right. Which was a contrast because everyone else was playing.
Everyone was playing rap.
Yeah.
So
right.
Cool,
and I remember I used to have we'd have these big events and have these young girls, like 15, 16.
Yeah.
And they would come ride the Sea Dragon just because they heard what I was playing.
Oh, they were.
Yeah. They're like, I want to listen to Linkin Park, and it's like, just play Linkin Park on there and stuff. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. And so later on, my awesome Honda Accord got stolen.
Oh, no way.
Twice.
Really?
So
it got stolen, you recovered it, and then it got stolen again?
Yeah, and so then it got recovered twice.
Oh, wow.
And
is that because they just dumped it somewhere, or did you actually find it?
So someone stole it and crashed it, know. And I repaired it.
You never found out who stole it either time?
No, they ditched the car, on the freeway down in LA somewhere.
Okay.
So that's the end of the good old times in the Honda Accord.
End of an era.
Yeah, so it seemed like it was a long time, but it was 95 through 2000. Okay. So in 2000 I bought a Toyota Tacoma. That was kind of my dream truck.
Okay.
Little four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And then so I went to UCLA after Hancock, and so when I was at UCLA, that's where the car got stolen.
Oh.
And so then I went 6 months without a car. Janny drove me everywhere. Mm-hmm. I called her. She was my sugar mama.
You guys were already together at the point?
We moved in together April of 2000.
Okay.
And I graduated in 2001. So we lived down there for a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And so I rode the bus, and I'd get rides from people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she would drive me around and stuff like that. And
nice.
I ended up buying a Tacoma later on towards the end. I think 2001 or something like that.
Okay.
It was a 99 Tacoma. I got a smoking deal on it.
Nice, dude.
It was like $12,000. I bought it for $12,000, 2001. And then 2007, I sold it for $12,000 or something. I'll take that back. $7,000. I sold it for $7,000. The resale value on it was sky high.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, "There's no the only cars like that."
No.
But I took it all over the dunes, and I carried my dirt bike. Went all the riding spots throughout California. I used to ride everywhere.
That's awesome.
And I used to go to they had local races here at the Santa Maria Fair Park.
Okay.
They had dirt bike races.
Okay, nice.
I raced in a couple times. I was the worst.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think I got last place, but it was pretty close. But I was just happy to be out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these guys are pro, and they got their straight bill hats, and they're all metal militia and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I pull up in my Tacoma, I just got off the trail, just yeah. I was a pedestrian motocross rider, but,
They call you a poser, probably.
Oh, probably. They probably called me every name in the book. But we used to go to all the, it's still on. I just watched Supercross the other day. But Anaheim is huge in Supercross, and Las Vegas.
Yeah.
They have the huge Supercross events, and I used to watch it on TV, and we would go travel around. I used to have a group of buddies that would ride dirt bikes with. And,
nice, man.
And so that was a good time, but the music at the time was the punk, and UFC was growing big, UFC there was a lot of that hard rock, when they play, when the fighters would come out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was fire up music, It's
yes.
I don't need Jodeci to come walk me into the ring, the UFC octagon. So that's really when I really got into it, watching UFC, and the pay-per-view fights and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a good time.
And then after that is when you kind of started going the Christian music route, or what?
I had always Christian in my back pocket, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I always had that music there and listened to K-Life, but I don't think it was till really right before we had kids, when I got married, right? 2004. And then Lana was born in 2008, so those 4 years is when my wife started going to church with me a little bit, and because she was raised Buddhist, Taiwanese.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ken.
Ken Chow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ken and Janny are brother and sister.
Oh, no way.
And they're raised Buddhist. Yeah, you never knew that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Ken, everyone, you went to school with him?
I went to school. Again, he was one of those guys, I knew who he was, he knew who I was, and we had a lot of mutual friends, but I don't think I've ever hung out with the guy. Right. But he was that guy that everybody knew and liked, right? He's just kind of that kind of guy.
Yeah, he's just a likable guy.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know if I've ever actually talked to him.
Yeah.
But...
So I always say that, I married Ken's sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what everybody
That's
tells
funny.
Me. Yeah.
But he would have been younger than her, right?
So he's actually, they all lost a year of school because they went to Taiwan. Mm-hmm. They came here on visas, and a family sponsored them to come here, and they came legally to the U.S. And then they went back to Taiwan to visit one summer, and the family pulled their visa basically and told them they couldn't come back, and they sold all their stuff.
Oh my gosh.
It's a terrible story, but so they got stuck in Taiwan for a year. So they're all a year older. Like Janny's a year older than me.
Okay.
Because they lived in Taiwan for a year and didn't go to school.
She was the same grade as you when she came back, but she's a year older than you.
Yeah, and Ken's the same.
Okay.
Ken's the same age as me. We're born the same year.
But he was in school was my grade.
Yeah.
But he's younger than her.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys started going to church.
Yeah.
And
and then we got pregnant, and it was, for it's Christian music all the time.
Okay.
And that's pretty much been the genre.
Is there any like groups from that era that you can remember off the top of your head? That's about the same time I started listening to Christian music too.
Yeah, so. Mid 2000s probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can't remember. Was it Hillsong?
Yeah.
Was one of them.
Yeah. Well, Hillsong's still doing stuff today.
Yeah, they're still making music.
Yeah.
There was who's the other one? The Newsboys.
Yeah.
Newsboys. Yeah, they were a real deal.
Yeah, you had Newsboys like Audio Adrenaline.
Yeah.
You had all these like big names back then.
Yeah.
DC Talk, and then Toby Mac doing the solo after.
I actually called in, and I got into Christian rap for a little while.
Yeah.
And I have a couple Christian rap CDs.
What do you got?
This group's called I can't remember. I only remember the one, but it's LGYs. It's like a real rap like.
LGYs?
Yeah. I called on a radio station. They mailed it to me.
What does that sound? What does that stand for?
I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. I never did any background research or nothing like that. But I just have that CD, and I remember playing it all the time because they had the beat.
Yeah.
And they had the bass.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, I was still kind of into that a little bit.
Yeah.
There.
I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah.
How funny. That must be pretty underground.
Yeah, no, I had a couple, 2 or 3 of them. I don't know if I still have them. I think I have that one because I remember looking at it, going through my stuff one day. Yeah. But I have like 2 or 3 of those Christian rap.
Yeah, because I got a lot of Christian rap. I love a lot of that Christian rap. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Some of the bigger, like the LA Symphony or Tunnel Rats or something kind of like, they're kind of like the Wu-Tang right of the Christian market because there's this big group of like 7 or 8 rappers that all make up, all the different songs and stuff.
What would you consider Kirk Franklin?
I don't know what to consider him, but to be honest with you,
it's like top 40, Christian top 40 or something.
I don't like him.
Oh, really?
I can't. Okay. Like he's done some songs he's been a part of that I like, but when he starts doing that,
yelling,
hello, and it's like all through the song, it's like, dude, shut up! I'm trying to hear the song, man. It's like it drives me crazy. Yeah. But like my cousin loves that guy. Yeah. And he's like, oh man, you got to hear this song. Check. And I listen. And I go, yeah, it was a great song until he started doing that.
Yeah, he started yelling at everybody.
It's like, stop it. And
stop yelling at me, see.
Right. Or like some of the like Toby Mac songs where it features Kirk Franklin and he's doing that in a Toby Mac. He said, you just ruined a Toby Mac song.
Yeah. Toby Mac's great. Yeah.
K2S?
S. Yeah.
That's most people have never heard of those guys.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the 2 CDs, I think.
Yeah.
The Better Days, I think that's the one I got.
Right.
Used to be in the dark, now I'm in the light. Yeah.
Kind of remind me of, I don't know if it's a connection, but like, no, it's not a connection. Like Sublime. K2S, was that like, they had that sound?
No, K2S wasn't like that.
They were more rap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe I mixed them up with someone else.
I know that when I first started listening to the OC Supertones, they had a song to me that sounded just like Sublime, and I was just coming out of the kind of the secular music and loving Sublime was one of my favorite groups ever. Right. And so when I started getting the Supertones, I'm like, all right, cool. Now I got the Christian Sublime, But then the more I listened to Supertones, I realized it was pretty much just that one song that sounded like Sublime. Yeah. But the rest of it was great too.
Because it was rap, but it was pop.
Well, it's kind of kind of ska-ish kind of stuff. Yeah, I
don't know. I can't remember half of them. Like, I have a theory. You want to hear my theory?
I do.
Yeah. So I filled up my brain with a bunch of needless knowledge, and so I don't have room to remember basic things. Like the stuff that matters, like memories.
Right,
I don't have any room in my brain for memories because I filled it up with all this educational garbage.
Okay.
Because I studied math. I studied math at UCLA. I'm a math major.
See, that is a sign of a serious mental disorder, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Study.
That's what I said. So funny story. So I got into UCLA. I was like, I don't even know why they took me in, but they did because I think because I was an athlete and I wrote a great letter of intent. You got to write a letter to get in.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a great letter, and they accepted me, and I go in. And I remember the first several classes that I took in the upper graduate stuff is like so far-fetched math. Like, someone wrote a theory on the rate that bubbles rise in a soft drink. Like they wrote a differential equation proof or theorem or whatever to show the rate at what bubbles rise. I remember taking a class where I studied the traffic dynamics of the 405 freeway in Los Angeles, right? So I wrote differential equations, mathematics, to connect to that. So I'm like...
Did you enjoy doing that?
I did.
Dude,
for some reason, it was
I'm
weird.
glad there's people like you because I know that's important. There's certain jobs that need people like you.
Yeah.
But I don't get that at all.
It was all
that
brainwork,
sounds like the most boring thing in the world to me.
Right. So one of the things, exactly. It was wild because it's like beyond your imagination.
Yeah.
For me, math was always like a puzzle.
Okay.
So I always tell everyone, when I was young, I grew up. I don't know what it is, but I pursued difficult things.
Okay.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Golf. Like golf is like the hardest sport in the world, and wrestling.
Right.
They have their own things, and math. So when I pursued math, I was like, I just want to know more. Yeah. And so math was really interesting. But I remember going to UCLA, it's a research university, and everybody was like, "What are you going to study? What are you studying?" I'm like, "I'm studying math. I want to be a math teacher," because I was originally engineering.
Yeah.
And I interviewed engineers, and they work like 60 to 80 hours a week.
You're like, no,
I don't want to do that.
Not if you're getting ready to start a family and stuff. Yeah.
I was always coaching. I started coaching right away.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can't be a coach if I'm an engineer.
Right.
So I'm going to be working. They're shooting missiles at Vandenberg at 2 a.m., and there's 50 engineers sitting over there, and, we got to scrub this launch. So, you just waste your whole night,
Right.
And so I'm like, I didn't want to do that. So anyways, everybody always asks me, what are you studying? What are you researching? Mm-hmm. I'm researching math. And they're like, no, what are you going to prove? Like the theorem of the day, everybody want to know what you're going to prove. Like, what's your research?
Yeah.
And
what are you going to bring to the table that's new, right? Like, what innovation are you going to pull out?
I'm like, I don't have any research. I'm a normal dude. And so my other theory is that you got to be kind of out there, mentally to do research in math. Like, to get a PhD in math, it's not normal.
No, it's
not normal at all.
It's not normal to even want one.
Right.
Let alone get one, right? That's what I'm saying. That's a special kind of person right there, man.
Right.
That's gnarly.
But I just pursued it more than, I overachieved.
Did you get a PhD?
No, I did not.
Did you get a master's?
I was in a master's program, and I ended up dropping and moving.
Okay.
So, long story, the director of the program didn't like me because I was normal.
Okay, all right.
I wasn't weird like everybody else.
Yeah,
and so I was normal, and then she didn't like me for some odd
discrimination
reason.
For being too normal.
Yeah, exacty. Yeah,
you don't hear that anymore.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know. I probably said something to her that was rude or something. I don't know. But I ended up leaving the program, and I started pursuing teaching. And when I was there at UCLA, I was like, I was going into all these schools inside the city.
Right.
So I worked in Watts. I worked in
Watts in LA.
I worked in Crenshaw.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
these are the high schools they wanted me to teach at.
Dude.
So I went in and did observations for I did 6-week stints.
Were you scared?
No, not at all.
Wasn't that scary?
And the kids were like, "You don't want to be here. You're out of your element, and all this other stuff." And
that would have scared me. I would have been scared by that.
No, I wasn't scared. I was like, my dad always said, everyone puts on their pants the same, one leg at a time, and it doesn't matter what your background is, your ethnicity, your socioeconomic level. You could be a celebrity, but we all get up and do our thing every day,
Yeah.
And so those kids that were there, or even the teachers or the people in the community, I wasn't really intimidated. I was just I was there doing a job.
But there's certain neighborhoods that you can get up and put your pants on like everybody else and get killed. Right. So I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it wasn't as dangerous as they made it out to be.
Okay.
Like I could have got carjacked.
It's not like the movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it wasn't like Boys in the Hood or
It wasn't Boys in the Hood. Okay. I went in and I had to investigate the whole community, right? Mm-hmm. And I go into a liquor store, everything's behind glass. And it was an eye opener.
Yeah.
I just avoided if I see people standing there on the corner, I go the other way.
Yeah,
I'll go around the block.
Right. And don't make eye contact. Don't.
Yeah, it was like, that dude looks like he has a gun, no.
Right.
And, so you just, you just avoid those situations. You got to have your head on swivel at all times, And the college actually, they coached us up on a lot of those things. They wouldn't just send you in there with no background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I can imagine being a 20-year-old woman going in, from anywhere, like suburb, like say Valencia or something. You go to UCLA and then they put you in Crenshaw. It's like,
right.
And again, the neighborhoods aren't as bad as everybody makes it out to be.
Sure.
And everyone's like, oh yeah, it's the hood, it's the ghetto, it's the killing, and for me, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
It wasn't that bad at all.
Okay.
And
how about Janny though? Was she like,
I never took her with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we stayed in Westwood.
Because I don't think she's going to be like, hey, this is where we should move, and this is where we should start our family.
Well, that was the thought, And I actually had a job offer from Lockheed Martin as an engineer in Palmdale, working for Lockheed Martin, and I turned it down, and I just wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I was like, I had settled on it when I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Nice, man.
It started out, I was tutoring, and I was an engineer, but I was tutoring in math. At that time, calculus and all these basic skills. And when I tutored, everyone's like, you should be my teacher, dude. I got this professor. He's an idiot. I haven't learned anything all year. Like, can you? And so I had students that I would tutor.
Yeah.
And I tutored, in all these different places, and everybody just, it was the students that convinced me that I should teach. They're like, you just have a way to connect with people.
Right.
And you can teach, and it's like a gift.
Yeah.
It's God's gift, right?
Sure.
So I pursued it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So with math, I've always been curious because again, my math is I don't math. I've always been an English guy. I'll write a 4,000 page essay on whatever topic you tell me, and I'll have it done in an hour.
Right.
But you give me math, terrible. But like I'm always curious, like is there a like for you personally, is there a limit? Like is there a part of math that you don't know, like you don't understand? Yeah. Or can you go as high as you can? Are there people in the world that are like, oh no, I do a kind of math, Doug, that you can't even fathom?
So there's a saying in the math world, the word is trivial. Okay. All right. So there's basically like 4 levels of calculus.
Okay.
And so anything beyond that, there's linear algebra, there's complex analysis and differential equations and all these other fields. Yeah. And anything that's higher level math, right? And so there's no limit. Like I had this professor who was the same age as me. His name was Terrence Tao, Tao. He won the Fields Medal for math and all these things. He's a genius, And so you got genius level mathematicians, right? And there's a group of mathematicians at UCLA. They're all genius level, And for them, the differential equation and all these other things were trivial. But for me, trivial was like the calculus that you take at Hancock. Like there's 4 calc classes, 181, 182, 83, 84. I got A's in all those, and then that's why I got into UCLA pretty much, because I got A's in those classes. Yeah. But those are like your introduction to like that high level math world.
But could that be taught to you though? Like could these genius guys, is it something they could teach you to do, or is their intellect so much higher than yours that you couldn't even figure it out?
They can't teach. So geniuses cannot teach. They cannot tell you how their brain operates. Okay. Right?
They just know
they're
the answers.
Smart.
And
like savants type.
Right.
But
like, could you learn it? Like, could you, like, if you decided today, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to becoming that level of math, could you get there? Or at some point, would your brain just not be quite to the level it needs to be?
So, I mean, you're getting IQ and stuff like that.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I'm asking. If it's something that can be learned, or is it something that, like, no, you just have to be a genius to do this?
Right. Yeah, there's some things you got to be a genius like, to even understand some of these proofs. Like Fermat's last theorem, and all these... Newton's law of physics, it's like you really got to have some kind of understanding of physics and high level math to understand what they were thinking to come up with that. But Newton couldn't teach you how he came up with it. Right. You know what I mean? So I think high level math is attainable for some people. That want to learn it. But I think anything can be learned. Okay. Like I wasn't that great in English, but I learned how to become a great writer. Okay. I used the law of substitution. So I use mathematics to do English.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was in community college, and you had to take the English 101, right? Yeah. And so I took the pre-class,
Okay.
And the pre-class, I don't remember the numbers of it, but I had this lady, and she's like, just write an essay and then fill the little words with big words. I'm like, okay, I can do that. That's math.
So what, like look through and then take a word that maybe is not as big and then go to a thesaurus and find a bigger word that means the same thing?
Yeah.
To make it sound more
make it sound more intellectual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started doing that, and then I started learning the words. And I started understanding the definitions of the words and things that they mean. So my vocabulary really expanded.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being a big reader.
Right.
Like if you got a library of books and you've read them all.
Yeah.
That's how you learn, what these words mean.
Yes.
And so I learned, I did the opposite. I learned it from a thesaurus.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I was terrible in English. Well, not terrible. I was still good. I still get A's and B's in English because I knew I was an overachiever, like I said. But I really got good. I wrote a book.
You did?
I haven't published it yet.
Okay. How long ago did you write it?
3 years ago in the summer.
Okay.
I wrote a book, and I still have not published it.
Are you peddling it to publishers and you just haven't got one pick it up yet?
No, I've gotten in contact with like 3 different people that they're like, oh, I know a publisher. They'll publish your book. Yeah. And all of them have fallen through each year. So I'm like, I went to Amazon. Yeah. I got it all lined up to do it at Amazon. I just got to sit down and put it out there and get all this stuff figured out.
Nice.
K&B Publishing is owned by Amazon, and you just do it on the Amazon website. So I've already gone through that process.
Okay. And it's on coaching? The book is about coaching? Okay.
So I did all the work for it. I got a preface, I got a introduction, I got a conclusion, I got table of contents, I got everything. I got pictures.
That's cool.
Yeah, so got a title and a cover.
Okay.
It's all in a Google Doc. I'll send it to you one of these days. But
yeah, for sure.
It's called How to Build an Athletic Program.
Nice.
What to do and what not to do.
Okay.
Because I learned what not to do a lot.
Yeah. Trial and error, right? Yeah.
Well, I still see what not to do. Being, I kind of I just like to watch now.
Yeah.
I really want to coach, but my wife's like, nope, you already coached enough. 25 years of coaching.
Oh, so you're done coaching now?
I'll probably go. No, I can't say I'm done ever.
Okay.
It's in my blood too.
Yes.
But I've seen a lot of what not to do in at the little league field. There's no training to become a coach.
Right.
Your kid plays sports and likes it, so then you're going to coach them.
Yeah.
And you might have a little background.
And it's usually you're coaching them because you've seen some of the other coaches and you want to make sure your kid doesn't get that guy.
Doesn't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want my kid to
have a coach who yells at them or swears at them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We had some doozies in all of our kids.
Yeah.
We had some great ones too, but we did have some, and I coached a few years just because I was like, and even that was hard because then I have to deal with all the other coaches, and I have to deal with the parents from the other teams, and
what
sometimes the parents of my team. Yeah, exactly. You learn what not to do, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, you want it to be fun, but you want the kids to learn, and you want them to win because that's a priority.
Yeah.
So you got to balance all those things, and that's kind of what the book's about.
Yeah.
Just like balancing your personality with what works, but also learning. And like I said, I believe anything can be learned.
Yeah.
Coaching can be learned. It's just people that coach think they already know it all.
Right.
They don't want to learn. They don't want to get better or be told what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm coaching you up.
Yeah.
To improve as a coach.
And if you're smart, you would take
advice.
That. Yes.
It's not criticism. It's advice. It's an improvement.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah. Because
so
if you're denying it, if you're denying any advice you're given, what you're saying is, I've already arrived.
Yeah.
I am the best possible person I can ever be. There's no room for improvement.
Right. And that's
never
going to happen.
Because nobody is that, right? Yeah, exactly.
Even Nick Saban, he said after he retired and went on TV, he coached Alabama to 6 national championships or something like that.
Yeah.
And the best coach of all time in college football. One of them. There's Bear Bryant and all those other guys. But he even said, he's like, I'm still learning. Because now he watches film and he's breaking down film differently because he needs to commentate on what happened, in a game, so he could tell the people what happened.
Yeah. Or
prepare for what's going to happen in the game today. Because those commentators, they got to make predictions and all that stuff. So even then, he's 74 years old and he's still learning. And he's like, and he's one of the best to ever do it. And he's still learning. Bill Belichick, coached the Patriots for all those victories and championships, and he's back in college. He's coaching North Carolina now.
Right.
Right. So he's still can learn something, and he's taking that job because it's not pro, it's college.
Yeah.
And it's a different field.
Yeah.
Really.
And
it's a whole different sport.
I bet you all those people that we're talking about that have that level of excellence are probably the exact kind of people we're talking about that are open to being taught.
Yeah.
Open to growing and expanding and not, it's not those guys that are like, nah, hey, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
I don't need anything from you. I mean, I am the best, right? Those guys are going to go nowhere.
Your average little league coach.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Or youth soccer.
Something, right? Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what city you're in. It was not exclusive to Orchid or Santa Maria or whatever.
Sure.
But there's no training.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right.
You have to do safe sport training to make sure you're not a pervert,
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Which is good.
Yeah.
We don't need those guys out there.
Yeah, but it's, all the practice I've been to the last 10 years, and every time I see practice, all the parents are sitting there anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the coach going to do? You know what I mean? It's like everyone's...
Because they've learned better.
Yeah.
They don't want their kid to be the statistic,
Yeah. So the coaches don't get training, and I wrote this book, and I want to train coaches, and I want... A part of me wants to talk to these organizations and see if I can do like a 1 hour coaching conference or clinic, because I've gone to so much training for every sport. I've coached multiple sports because I played them all,
Sure.
And so each sport that I coach kind of benefits another sport. And I use stuff I learned in golf to help complement wrestling, and stuff I've learned in wrestling to help complement football or whatever. I haven't coached football.
Okay.
In youth, but I coached high school football for 9 years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
At the school you're at now?
No, so I coached at Rigetti.
You did?
I coached football at Rigetti. And
really?
I coached football at Santa Maria High.
Okay.
And Cabrillo High. I did a stint at Cabrillo High School for 2 years.
So did you coach with Payne then, or was this after or before that?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I never coached with him.
Okay.
We played together.
Sure. Well, you guys graduated the same year too, right?
Yeah. But he went to Texas for college football, and
is that where he's at now? He's not there now, is he?
No, he's here in.
He's back in town.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's a teacher.
I don't see him very often.
I think he's back coaching at Rigetti.
Okay,
but I think he teaches. He was teaching at Pioneer Valley, but I think he's back at Rigetti coaching.
Yeah,
like the O-line, or maybe he's coaching at PV. I think.
Okay,
I can't remember where he's at.
Yeah,
but I see him around all the time.
I see him every once in a while.
Yeah,
not very often. But.
So I coached at Rigetti from. So I coached at Rigetti. I started teaching in 2001. Mm-hmm. I had already coached for 5 years because when I was going through college, I was coaching the whole time, mainly wrestling.
Okay.
And then in 2001, I got my first teaching gig, and that's when I coached football. I coached wrestling, and then I went to Cabrillo for 2 years, and I coached football and wrestling and track and field.
Oh, nice.
And I got 2 years in track and field, and then I went back to Rigetti in 2003. Mm-hmm. I coached from 2003 through 2009 at Rigetti, and I coached football, wrestling, and golf pretty much all those years.
Right.
So
usually the coaches, because it used to, I don't know if this is still the case, but when I was in high school, if you were a coach, you had to be a teacher.
Right.
Also, right. But usually they usually taught something that wasn't math. Right. It wasn't, or science. It wasn't ever like one of the core things. It was like
PE.
Yeah, like PE, or even like I remember like at Rigetti, like they taught like history. Mm-hmm. Like I remember like Manazar. I had a history class with Manazar, and
Manazar,
Montero coached.
Yeah. He was history. Yeah,
he was history also. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Manazar actually pretty close with him. He's one of my mentors. And
he was a wrestling coach, wasn't he?
He was a wrestling coach. Okay. He was a football coach.
Yeah.
He came up the years Rupsick came up.
Okay.
He taught every subject. Every subject. He's taught it all. And he was never, he wasn't a wrestling guy. He was a bodybuilder.
Okay.
So he's from Northern California.
Okay.
And
that guy was awesome. I loved that.
Yeah, he was amazing guy. His grandsons are into wrestling now. His son,
really?
He has two boys and a girl.
Okay.
And his grandsons are wrestling here locally. So his son's been kind of help coaching. So I see him around. Like I said, wrestling community is really small.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing Manazar.
So you know everybody.
He comes and watches his grandkids.
Oh, really? He's still around in town, huh?
Yeah. He's been living in Napomo for the last 4 years.
I don't even know if I would recognize him if I saw him.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years since I've seen the guy.
Right. Yeah. So he played football for UCSB.
Okay.
And he was a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
and he played like D tackle or something like that. He has great stories about UCSB.
I bet, man.
He's told me so many stories, but traveling wrestling tournament, you get a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
In hotels and stuff like that.
Right.
And
man.
he got into wrestling, and one of his college football teammates got him into it, and he started, when he was in his early 20s. That's when he got into it, but he never actually competed.
Right.
But he's got that coaching pedigree, because he taught everything and he coached everything, and you got to have some skill to be able to do that,
Sure.
And the way I say that coaching is an outdoor classroom. It's a classroom, but you're outside.
Right.
And that's the way I treat it, And I wouldn't do anything on the playing field that I wouldn't do in a classroom, like cussing kids out, putting them down, derogatory nicknames and stuff like that.
Right.
People always get away with.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't do that with your students.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
Why would you do it to your athletes?
Because they almost think like you have to be tough. Like it's almost become such a part of coaching. Mm-hmm. They just want to go. Yeah, they just need a little tough love. You got to make fun of them here and there. It'll toughen them up.
Right.
And it's like that might work for some kids, but then some kids are suicidal because of that.
Right.
Right. Like so that's not a good balance. Like I'm not going to take the 2 kids that I'm coaching that turn out to be wonderful to the 4 kids that killed themselves because of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's not, just don't do it. It's not worth it.
I was getting a kick out of it. It's like kids will, like, in Little League, kids will be warming up playing catch. And if a kid drops the ball, they got to run like 8 laps or something.
Right.
Like that. You know what I mean? It's
like,
or soccer. Soccer is another one, If a kid, misses a pass or something like that, go run a lap.
Right.
And like I see the teams practicing all the time.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many things. And it's like,
but I mean, see, something like that, it might, like, you're going to try harder, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to run the lap. Right. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But if it becomes, like, way too overbearing or, like, the kids are starting to hate playing because, like, man, my coach is such a jerk and he's just yelling all the time. And, you don't want that.
So one of my other things was, as a coach, is if I tell a kid to do something, I should be able to do it.
Yourself?
Myself.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So that was, like... And so all the coaches I brought up, like my assistant coaches and stuff like that, I always tell them that, if you tell someone to run a lap, you better be able to run a lap too.
Okay.
Because I couldn't stand it when my coach can't even walk to the mailbox and he's telling me to run a lap. I'm like, hey, dude, don't tell me to run a lap.
Yeah.
How about you, not park in handicap parking anymore? You know what I mean?
Well, he could have just told you, but I didn't drop the ball.
Right.
You did, so that's why you got to run.
Right.
Right.
But so anyways.
So, all right, so let's finish up with the, we'll do your
Where are we at? We never even talked about music.
We did a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got a little bit in there. And now we'll just do your top 5.
Oh, my top 5.
Yeah, we'll jump to top 5, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll get into politics.
Okay.
So what do you got?
All right. So I actually chose, since I grew up, we're all Gen Xers here, so 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010. So I
picked one of each.
5 decades. I took
nice, dude.
one from each decade because I thought that would be cool.
Perfect. That would be cool.
I didn't choose any rap because it's not my thing anymore.
There you go.
But in the 70s, Journey.
Nice.
So a little bit about, I got into, in wrestling, there's one wrestling movie.
Okay.
Vision Quest.
Yeah.
Vision Quest is the real deal. There's a little bit of Madonna when she was starting out.
Yes. That's what I was going to say. Madonna's in that with
there's
the
song, Lunatic Fringe, and there's a lot of stuff. It was right around Rocky. So Rocky and Vision Quest were my
that was a popular
movies.
Soundtrack too.
Yeah. So the Vision Quest soundtrack, but there's a little bit of Journey in there.
Okay.
And so I started listening to Journey.
Nice.
Obviously Don't Stop Believing. It's like
too classic.
So I listened to a little bit of theirs, but I would say in the 70s that's probably that would probably be my top.
Okay.
And then in the 80s, I chose MJ.
Oh, nice.
Thriller.
Yeah.
That was another one growing up. My mom obviously, she ran the show out there, but it wasn't. He was. Someone was saying that recently, like somebody overtook Michael Jackson. As
king of pop
who
was
was
that? I forgot who it was. Now,
you
just start laughing when you read something like that.
Like we were talking about earlier, the GOAT of sports, like the GOAT of music. Like, you're not gonna take that guy's spot ever. He had his one album, Thriller, had 8 number 1 hits.
Yes,
and each hit was held the top spot for like
for
40
months.
weeks or something like that.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
It's like no one's ever done that in the history of music.
Yeah, he ruled the 80s basically.
Ever.
Because then after that was the Bad album.
Yeah.
And that one had a bunch of whole #1 singles on it too. And yeah.
I didn't necessarily think Michael Jackson was the best singer or dancer in the world, but he was. You know?
He might have been the best dancer.
Yeah.
At the time anyway.
Yeah, the moonwalk.
Yeah.
We all moonwalked.
Yes.
At one point in our lives.
Well, tried to maybe.
Who? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Left foot.
Yeah.
Two left feet. Is that what?
Yeah. 2 left feet. Yeah. When you can't dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So MJ, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Classic.
In the 90s, I said the Goo Goo Dolls.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm listening to a lot now.
Yeah.
Than I did back then, but it's just like hearing the songs, I share it with my daughters. You know, that's a connection I have with my 3 girls.
Yeah.
And
well, those are emotional songs, dude.
Yeah. So I didn't choose. I didn't choose any R&B, even though I loved it back then,
right. Right.
But it was, it was more emotional for me, to choose that music. And then 2000.
I was just say, what was the song from the City of Angels movie? That one gets me emotional.
Oh yeah,
all the time. Because I think it was written for the movie.
Right.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
been
like
a long time.
Yeah, but it's like Nicolas Cage is the angel, and he falls in love with the human Meg Ryan, and then just awesome. And that whole song's like, what I don't want the world to see me because I don't think that they would understand. Yeah. Yeah, it's just epic.
Everything's meant to be broken.
Yes. I just want you to know who I am.
I just want you to know who I am. Yeah.
So good, dude.
Yeah. And in 2000s, just my dirtback days, the Linkin Park.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so we still listen to it. My son, so everybody plays like hip hop or something. When they have the when you're up to bat in baseball. Okay. They have your walk up song. Okay. So it's like a big deal in Little League baseball. Pick it? And you pick your own walk up song, and so someone has DJs. Not everybody.
What if you pick something that's explicit? Will they play it?
No, it's just like a snippet, like a 10-second snippet or something of a song.
So the people that are choosing the snippets will make sure there's nothing
the adults in the room are they're always. Anyways, my son chose his walk up song. Was it last year or 2 years ago? He chose Linkin Park Crawl.
Nice.
It's like just the opening guitar. Yeah.
Crawling. It's like, here comes a home run.
Yeah, so that was his walk up song, and it was like, it's all rap, and then it's like crawl. It's like.
And you're back there as a proud dad going, yep, I showed him that. I showed him that song. Most of your kids don't even know who that is, but my kid does. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Everyone's like, wow, that's different.
Yeah, that's right.
But I always think it's outside the box, do something that's different, not go with the flow. Like, I never really got into trends growing up. Okay. Yeah. Like being a trendy, except for the Honda Accord with the ribs.
Right. That was your one time.
But I was the only one with the rims.
There you go.
Everybody had the little Dayton
the 16-inchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the 2010s, I had a tie.
Okay.
And this is because of my daughters, because we sang all their songs and they still sing their songs. Okay. It's Taylor Swift and Katy Perry.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a Swiftie.
I am.
I'm a Swiftie dad.
I'm a Swiftie.
Yeah.
I'll flat out admit it.
I went to New Orleans. I went to New Orleans this year.
Yeah.
And she was in New Orleans when I was there.
Okay.
And all the hotels were sold out.
Did you take her out?
It was like $600 a night for a hotel room.
I bet.
And she was there.
Yeah.
And supposedly she did like a walk around somewhere and someone saw her or something like that. And it was all over like the hotel. All the Swifties were there.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about it. And they had like inside the hotel that we were staying at, they had like you could take pictures like with cut out or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And so it was like a huge thing down there. And I was gonna. They had like the Swiftie bracelet out. I forgot to make one for each of my daughters.
Oh,
but
you blew it, dude.
They all sing all the songs. My oldest not so much, but my younger two.
Oh, really? I was gonna ask if you probably your 6. I was assuming your 16-year-old would probably be the one that's into Taylor Swift.
Right.
That's the younger one.
Not so much. She's kind of. She's actually listening to a lot of 90s now.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's kind of taking it back, and so because I've kind of played a lot of them for them.
Yeah.
Like I said, Lauren Daigle, they love her. You know, they all went. All the girls went to the concert. You know,
nice.
And so
you didn't go because you were too cool, or what?
I don't know why. It was girls' night. It was girls' night. You know, because I do guys' night. I play poker. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it was girls' night that night. You know,
nice,
so I was like, go have fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Katy Perry, obviously, she was top dog in 2010s, so she was amazing, and so I made it a tie because the girls loved her too.
Right. I'm missing one. Who was your 90s one? Goo Goo Dolls. Who was the 2000s one?
2000 Linkin Park.
There we go.
Yeah.
Linkin Park. Okay.
Yeah, and now, just to be honest, like today, I'm just all variety. Like
good.
Everything across the board.
Yeah.
Is I listen to Christian music on my car.
Yeah.
Drive to work. I listen to talk radio. Sports talk radio. I go back and forth.
Like Jim Rome and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, but I get tired of it.
Yeah.
I turned Pat on Jim Rome actually in the 90s when he first started.
And now he's got Brighton listening to him all the time.
Yeah. But I'm over Jim Rome. After the Dodgers lost to the Padres, he came on the next day and bashed Dodger fan for like an hour.
Oh, really?
Dodger fan, where are you at? You guys are bums. This and that. 'Cause the Padres had won Game 4, I think it was.
Yeah.
And crushed them. He's like, this is the biggest Padre comeback of all time, And he just spent an hour on Dodger fan.
Right.
I'm like, dude, that's like 90% of Southern California.
Yeah.
The Padres, they're few and far between, but it's mainly if you go south of Orange County, you're in Padres land.
But that's kind of what he does, right?
Right.
I mean, he's always that's how
trying
he
to
gets
egg you on.
ratings. Yes, he wants people want to listen to that.
Yeah,
they want to hear the beef. They want to hear the struggle. Like I remember, what was that old clip where with Everett?
Everett.
Yeah, where he kept calling him Chris.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the other day because
Chris.
I heard some Jim Everett stats.
Yeah,
that guy was the real deal. Like, Kurt Warner. I listen to the NFL on the radio whenever I can because I teach at Hancock. But so I get the radio, and Kurt Warner does the play-by-play or whatever.
That guy's a strong Christian too.
Yeah, for sure. And he was talking about his battles going up, in the late 90s, 99, 2000. But he said he looked up to Jim Everett, and it was like, he was the coolest dude, and his stats prove it, And I was like, I thought he was Chris Everett, man.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? That's what we remember.
Yeah, I thought he was a terrible quarterback because Jim Rome put him down for like an hour. You know? I was like,
and Jim Rome is making money off that still because people are like, we're still talking about that.
Yeah.
That was what, 30, 40 years? How long ago was that? 30 years ago?
Yeah.
That he made that comment? That was forever ago.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
All right, man. So, politics, I know you say that you kind of take the middle ground.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that's really possible.
Right.
So, I mean, because obviously all these things that are being done in our country, they're going to affect you.
Right.
One way or another, right? Whether Kamala Harris won or Trump won.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you feel about those two people, it's going to affect your life.
Right.
Whether it's at the gas station or trying to buy a home or whatever, like all these different things, or the wars, foreign wars and all this stuff. It's going to change stuff, So, I mean... So I guess since we're kind of in a very interesting political cycle, because again we got Trump again, which people either love the guy or hate the guy.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Yeah, right. I mean, well, usually I'm the kind of guy that says, do I like Trump? No, I do not think Trump is a great person, and I don't want to go hang out with him and let my kids hang out with him.
If he was at the ranch, I'd go run another ride. Or
right,
like
exactly.
That.
I mean,
because he'd tell you off.
He probably right. You're fired. But I mean, but I also don't think he's bad as a president.
Right.
I think he did good things his first time. I think this time is going to be even better. I mean, he's already doing things that are even better. Yeah. So I mean, kind of like, what are your thoughts on all that? Yeah. Where do you stand? Like, do you? So
like a background, like my grandfather, my Portuguese grandfather. Our grandparents came from Portugal on my dad's side. My dad's full-blood Portuguese.
Gotcha.
So they're from the Azores Islands and stuff like that. So we got immigrants in our family. Everybody does. If you go back far enough, it's obvious.
Unless you're Native American,
it's obvious. But
right.
Yeah. So we have that blood, and but my grandfather never voted.
Okay.
He said all politicians are crooks. Yeah. That was his thing.
Well, there's probably some truth to that.
Anytime the news was on and some guy's talking about like any president, I mean, go back to Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Yep, he's an actor. He's a crook.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's there for money.
He's got to be.
He's got his own agenda. So he always had that judgment on these people. And my dad has never voted
ever
in his life.
Ever
has never voted.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
This last cycle, he did not vote.
Okay.
I've always voted.
Yeah.
I voted since I was 18.
Do you think it's important?
I think it's important. Okay. Yeah, because you make. That's the whole idea of the republic. Is that the people make the decision, right? Mm-hmm. So we get to make the decision about what happens, but as my grandfather would say, we really don't.
Right.
They do whatever they want.
It's all
like
set
how
up.
many assembly bills, AB can you tell me what AB 728 is? You know what I mean? It's like there's assembly bills. They pass assembly bills in California state legislature every day that we never heard of or seen in our life. They're just trying to pass bills through because of lobbyists and all these other things. And they're just, you know, at the end of the day, it's pocketbook stuff. Yeah. You know?
Well, plus because they always add all this extra stuff into the bill that has nothing to do with the main point just because they're trying to skirt that stuff through, you know?
Yeah, nobody reads the fine print because it's a 600-page document. Yeah. You know?
And they word it in a way that doesn't make sense to the average Joe anyway.
Yeah.
It's like,
the only person that reads the fine print is the Kennedy guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he reads the fine print and he calls people out on it.
Yeah.
He's like, what were you saying when you added this to this bill? You know, and so he calls people out.
You talking about RFK?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
He's going to do some cool stuff, I think, with big pharma.
I don't know. So that kind of goes back. So, you know, I voted all the way back, and when I was 2000, the Democratic National Convention was in LA, and my college roommate worked for the Democratic Party. He was a political science major. I'm a math major. He partied all the time. Yeah. Yeah. I come home. I had earplugs, man. This guy would like drink every night of the week. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're going to be a politician. I see how it is. Yeah. I was like, what's political science major like? He's like, well, you just write an essay like every 4 days, and then, you know, and then you read a book once in a while. You know, that's it. He's like,
time you just
and I'm over there studying my brains out, and he's like, dude, you're working too hard. You got to change your major to political science. Anyways, he was registered Democrat, and so I did too, because that's what I knew. Right. I'm like, oh, Democrat, you know, that's the way to go. Bill Clinton, he's the dude. Yeah. And so I was actually, my first, like, jump into politics was I saw the space shuttle land after the explosion in 86, I think. Yeah. The next space shuttle landing was at Edwards. Okay. And I wrote an essay about the importance of the space program and NASA and stuff like that. So from Santa Maria, we took a bus to Edwards Air Force Base, did like an overnighter down there. Yeah. And I was like in 6th grade, and saw the space shuttle land. Nice. And Reagan was there, and it was 88, and George Bush, I think George Bush had just been elected. Okay. And so that was like his first speech. And I was there for a speech, and everybody was all about it, you know, like the first George Bush, and because he took over after Reagan. Yeah. Ron Reagan. But I think that thing was just a cool event, and I didn't even think it. I was like, oh, I saw the president, you know. Right. So I never was overwhelmed by celebrity. Yeah. You know, or like being like, oh, that's the president. Right. Oh my gosh, I want to touch his coat. Right. You know. Right. Yeah. It's not
like he's Jesus or something.
Right. Yeah. I'm healed. Yeah. So I was never like that. Oh, and I'll tell you why. Because, all right, so this is way off topic, but so I went to school with Ryan Ventura. His brother Rob Ventura played professional baseball for years. Yeah, he's known for getting beat up by Nolan Ryan. Yes, I remember that. Yeah, but he was an amazing baseball player. He was on the USA Olympic team. He had a gold medal. Right, and so in 6th grade, Rob Ventura came to our school because he grew up around the corner from Alice Shaw Elementary School, right? So I went to school with Ryan Ventura all the way through, and he was super shy like me too. Yeah, so I remember him. I said hi and bye to him, you know, once in a while, but he was really quiet. He's really outgoing now. Oh, okay. I've seen him a few times, but anyways, he invited his show and tell. He invited Rob Ventura to come to school to show his gold medal, and I was a baseball kid, and I knew who Rob Ventura was. Like 90% of the class had no idea. Yeah. So anyways, I had him sign like a piece of paper or something like that. Rob Ventura, he signed it. Yeah. Or maybe it was a baseball card or something like that. I put it on my fridge. It was there for like 6 months. Yeah. And then at one point it disappeared. Got thrown away in the house. You know, like, and that was the only autograph I had ever gotten. Yeah. And the only one I cared about. You know, I collected baseball cards through the 80s. I still have a collection, but it got thrown away. And at that point, after it got thrown away, I was like, that autograph was not that valuable. You know, this guy's like one of the best baseball players in the major leagues. Yeah. And he's from here. And that's really special to me, but I guess it's not that special, you know? Right. And so I came to that conclusion, like the autographs were not that important, and seeing someone famous or stuff like that wasn't really that important. Anyways, fast forward to that 2000 Democratic National Conventions in LA. And so my roommate turned me into a Democrat because I'm a college kid. I love it. Yeah.
He turned me into a Democrat.
He turned me into it, yeah. Because I didn't have I'm apolitical, right? Sure. And that's just the way I was raised. I didn't really, nobody in my family cared about politics or anything like that.
Right.
Never watched the news.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to know what's going on with the weather. You know. Anyways, that convention was there, and I rode with them. He was actually a driver. They had like 6 vans, and they had to take, like when Al Gore was staying there at the, he was staying in LA, in like West LA or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so he was actually a driver for Al Gore.
Oh, wow.
And so he had to drive Al Gore from his hotel to the convention, which was in Century City or whatever.
Yeah.
So I rode with him in the van.
Oh, fun.
You know, there's like a 6-van detail or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Al was in one of those vans.
Yeah, and he had Secret Service. But anyways, that year I saw every person that ran for president came to UCLA that year.
Oh, crazy.
Even all the Republicans. John McCain came.
Okay.
Bradley came. I saw Al Gore's speech. I saw everybody's speech.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, so it was a pretty cool event. And that was like my first immersion into like politics and stuff like that. And so I was like, I really liked Al Gore, you know. I was like, I liked what he saw or what he said.
Yeah.
But then he brought in all these people on stage, like Rob Reiner and all these different celebrities and stuff, and nobody else did that. Like McCain was just like standing right there in front of me, and he was just like a down to earth guy, former military guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so cool. That's who I want to. So I didn't vote for Al Gore. I voted for McCain.
Okay.
That was my first vote. You know, in 2000.
Nice. And that's an interesting reason.
Yeah.
Because you're like, why does this guy need all this fanfare? Why does he need all these celebrities to push their power in the mix? Then McCain's just like, hey, I want to be president because I want to do these things for the country. Yeah. If you agree with me, you know, write my name on the ballot.
Right. And well, he was, Al Gore was what did he do?
Well, he was the VP for...
He was vice president, right?
Yeah, for Clinton?
Clinton, yeah.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so he was, yeah, it might be all running together. I don't even know.
I'm not sure either. Yeah.
But, so he was, I thought McCain was really down to earth, and I thought he had a good policy or whatever. But what I noticed was there were a lot of protesters.
Oh, yeah.
For McCain. And Al Gore, his was in the middle of Westwood. Have you ever been in the Westwood where the movie theater's at?
I'm not sure.
It's a red carpet place where they do the red carpets every Wednesday.
Oh.
That was probably the coolest thing about it.
Is it where the stars are on the...
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's right in the middle of... It's in the middle of Westwood, right next to UCLA.
Okay.
But that was one of the coolest things about UCLA is they released all the movie premieres every Wednesday night.
Nice.
Before the Saturday or Friday came.
Before the theater.
Yeah, and so they did all the red carpet crap out there, and I had friends that wanted to go watch and stuff and see all the celebrities. I'm like, oh, whatever. Anyways, so Al Gore had his detail there. He had snipers on the roof. There's a metal detector just go in. There were no protesters because they weren't allowed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A lot of protests.
So I mean, that kind of influenced me because he was the opposite of what Al Gore was, you know. Yeah. And I was always the one to do the opposite of what everybody else says, you know, the trend.
Yeah.
And Al Gore was like, I don't know, that guy's fake to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I was still a Democrat, and I voted for a Republican. Yeah.
That's blasphemy of the highest order, man.
Yeah. So that was my first vote.
Okay.
But then living in California after years of, you know, Clinton, and then we had Obama, you know, I had a friend that said he was never going to talk to me again because I voted for Obama.
Isn't that crazy?
I thought Obama was a great president, you know. I thought he did a little too much with too many handouts, you know, and a little bit too much handouts.
I think his first term was better than his second term. Yeah,
but he held down the party. He did what the party stood for, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And he was for the people, you know, he's a people guy, you know. And I just don't get the hate for Obama.
Yeah.
I don't see where the hate for Obama's coming from. Because I think they think he's still running the Democratic Party.
Well,
everybody thinks that he's the puppet master of the Democratic Party, and he basically told Biden everything what to do and all his cabinet, you know, and he's basically ran the last presidency. That's where the hate's coming from, I think.
Right.
But
Biden wasn't running it. We know that much.
Right.
It was somebody other than Biden. So people say Jill Biden too. Like his wife was the one running the
She was
show,
the brains of the operation.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dr. Jill Biden.
Dr. Jill. That's right.
And I say this: if you're a doctor, if you have that doctor attached to your name, you know stuff, right? Yeah. Regardless of
most supposedly,
most of the time,
you should know stuff.
Most of the time, like so in the dorm. My Democratic roommate, right? we had a neighbor. She was in the med school. She'd leave at like 7 a.m. and get home at like 10 p.m. every day. Wow. For like a year. And I'm like, man, doctors really deserve their money. You know, she was going through med school, and I talked to her a few times, you know. She was just like, all I do is work, and that's it.
Well, because if you're going to be a doctor, we all hope, as us as the patients, we sure hope you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
So you do all the schooling you need to do. You're going to be working on you're going to be doing brain surgery on me. I hope you know what you're doing.
And they deserve every dollar they get.
That's not like working on my car where you snip a wire and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I'm going to have to get you a new wire. Right. You snip a wire in my brain, I'm dead.
Right.
You know, it's like there's no coming back from that. Right. So
take some skill and some knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing people don't understand about doctors is you walk into their office and you tell them like 2 sentences and they're supposed to diagnose your health for the last 40 years of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like they're supposed to know exactly what to do and exactly what it is. And people get so angry at, you know, like the doctors in Santa Maria or Marion Hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, they gave me a pill and sent me home.
Right.
And it turned out it was cancer or something
else.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It was something else that you diagnosed.
Right.
It's like, well, they're supposed to diagnose it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But most of the doctors here are not from here.
Sure.
At the end of the day.
Right.
You know, does that mean they're good doctors or bad doctors? I don't know. But my theory is that if you're a doctor, you got that title, you know, you earned it. You know, because it takes a lot of years.
You earned it, but you know that's the joke, and I mentioned this I think a few episodes ago too. Because, but they say, what do you call the guy who finishes last or graduates last in med school? Doctor. Right? Yes. Yeah. He's still a doctor. Yeah. So when you're getting brain surgery, you don't know if that's the A+ student or the C student. Right? Because it doesn't say up on his diploma. Yeah. He graduated of honors, blah blah, C+. Right. You don't see that. It's just he's a doctor. He's got the PhD. He's got it. You know, brain surgeon.
And that's what I tell the high school kids. Is kind of along the same lines. Mm-hmm. All these kids want to go to the best schools for the best this and best that.
Right.
And one of my counselors told me, they're like, when you graduate from college, and I'm a hypocrite because I graduated from UCLA, but at the end of the day, you get a diploma that says where you graduated from. It doesn't matter where it's from. Right. It's a diploma.
Right.
It could be from any college out there.
But to some people, it does matter.
Some people it does matter, but your character, when you go for a job interview, your character should decide whether or not you deserve a job, not what your diploma says, right?
I would think.
UCLA versus Cal State Challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Harvard versus Hancock. Yeah. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. So there's going to be there's a significant difference, but at the end of the day, you graduated and, you know, and your character, like your background and your work experience or whatever is going to get you the job.
Sure.
Not, you know, where your degree's from.
Well, but that goes even into the DEI stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that this is what you just said is the way it should always be.
Right.
People should be getting jobs based on their merit and their experience and how good they are at the job, not what they look like or where they came from or who their dad is or any of that. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if I'm getting a procedure done, I don't care if you're male or female, gay, straight, whatever. All I care about is that you know what you're doing when you go in there. And it goes straight across the board, even if you're working on my car.
Right.
I don't care what your personal life is like. I don't even care.
Right.
Do you know how to fix my engine or not?
That's all I want.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I'm paying you the money, you better fix my car. Right? It's like, don't be like, well, I couldn't fix it, but you know, I am the first black woman mechanic that this place has ever had.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. Right. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I don't know why people make such a big deal out of that.
I think that's 90% of America don't care.
Now, yes. It seemed like a few years ago, everybody seemed to care. About that stuff. But now I think we had this like great awakening now where people are starting to realize, wait, what are we doing? This is
maybe that's a good name for it. Has there been a great awakening at some point in history?
At some point, I'm sure. Yeah. Like maybe back in the Plato days. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's I mean, and I know people shoot me down for this and they think I'm crazy or whatever, but I'm excited about the next 4 years. And it's not because I'm a Trump worshiper. That's, you're just America. You just work, you're a white supremacist. No.
Yeah.
I just look at what he's doing.
If you fly an American flag.
Correct. Yes, because that makes total sense.
Right.
But I mean, I look at what he's already doing. I look at the people that he's putting in his cabinet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is because people are always whining about our government. Right. Oh, you know, the government's always corrupt. It's always going to be corrupt. The only thing to do is to tear it down and start over. The only thing to do is tear it down and start over. Here's a guy who's finally doing that,
and everyone's upset,
and everybody's mad. Yeah. So, well, what are you doing? You can't do it. What do you mean you can't do that?
Right.
You know, whether it's the immigration thing or whatever it is, you can't like send people back.
Right.
They're breaking the law.
Right.
It's racist. No, it's not racist because there's plenty of people
right.
that are here legally.
Right.
They're mad at the illegals too
right.
because they're like, look, I had to go through a lot to get here legally, and you're just cruising on in for nothing.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean, that's a slap in the face to them too.
Right. You work so hard to earn it.
Right.
So the earn is the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the beauty of America. It's like wherever you're from, come on in.
Right.
But do it right.
Yeah, we got a front door and we got a back door.
Correct.
Use the front door.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. I mean, even Trump's trying to get rid of the back door.
Right.
He's like, no, let's get rid of that. So let's make that not even an option anymore. You know,
yeah,
people are mad about it.
So part of that, I see both sides of it. You know, you touched on the immigration and stuff.
Yeah.
But I see both sides of it because, you know, I teach Samurai High.
Yeah.
And I have students that are here illegally.
Sure.
But they're kids.
Yeah.
Did they choose to come here illegally?
Right.
So should they be deported?
That's a tough one.
Exactly.
That's a tough
That's
one.
exactly the point.
Right. Right.
You can't deport someone that did not choose to come here illegally.
Right.
That's not a terrorist, you know, not a criminal.
Right.
They're kids.
Yes.
So what's going to happen to the kids? Should we deport every single one of them?
Right.
Right. And so in my position, I feel like my obligation is I'm here for kids. I'm here to protect the kids, right?
Right.
From the bad guys. And so right now everyone thinks that being the ICE is the bad guy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so I see both sides of it. You know,
Of course.
You come here, you can have a baby for free.
Mm-hmm.
You can have free health care with Medi-Cal.
Yep.
And you can have help with paying your rent.
Yeah. You
get a free cell phone. And my cell phone bill is $300 a month. Right? Yeah, because I got 6 people under my cell phone. Anyways, you get all that free if you're born on that side of the border. But if you're born on this side of the border, let's say you came when you were 1 year old, right? Mm-hmm. You came to the U.S. when you were 1 year old. You're an illegal immigrant.
Technically, on paper, yes.
You get all of those things.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If you're born here, you don't get any of those things.
Yeah. I like that.
Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, it's the difference of a year.
Right.
So I could have two sophomores in high school that are 15 years old. Mm-hmm. One came here when they're one was born here, and when they're adults, they're going to get completely different views of the world.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Some person's going to get full support.
Yeah.
Some are going to get no support. So I think one size fits all is not the solution. You know, and I feel like, you know, in my opinion, I don't think deporting everybody is the solution.
Well, and I don't think that's what they're trying to do either. I don't think that's. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying that,
right?
And people are scared of that, right?
Scared.
There's a fear, and I get it. I understand. I always try to put myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
And I think if that was me, I'd be a little freaked out too.
Right.
And like, so I work with, like I told you, I work at the library. We do passports there.
Yeah.
And, you know, the passports, you know, for a while, we're pretty steady with passports.
Yeah.
But in the last couple months, dude, we have every day is filled with appointments.
Right.
From now into like April.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And whenever we have someone who is a Spanish speaker, because we needed to have a passport agent who speaks Spanish to be able to do the appointment, we put an SP by their name.
Okay.
Okay. It was usually like one out of every 30.
Right.
Okay. You look at our schedule now, it is jam-packed every day, SP, 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 SP. It's all SP. Right. And all the passports I do, I look at their application, and it's usually for a kid.
Right.
So they're getting the passport for their child.
Right.
And on the form, they have to fill out the parental information. And one of the questions is, U.S. citizen, yes or no? Every time, it's no on both mom and dad. But the child was born here.
Right.
So it seems to me like what they're doing is they're hoping that if their kid is a citizen, that they won't deport the parents because like, well, we can't. They got to take care of the kid, right? And I don't think they would ever do that anyway. I don't think they'd say, "All right, parents going back, but we're keeping the kid." No, you're not gonna. I mean, come on, that's barbaric. There's no way.
Right.
I mean, maybe they would deport all 3 of them back.
Right.
You know, whether the kid has a passport or not. But you see this panic, and like I said, I get it. I get it. But to me, there's like this line of there's the law, and there's following the law and upholding the law, and then there's empathy and sympathy. Right? And this is kind of the thing that I always get when people say, well, I have a friend who might get deported.
Right.
So how can I support this deportation program?
Right.
And my question is always like, look, I get it. I understand you love your friend. That's awesome. But is your friend breaking the law? And if so, should we enforce the law, or should we only enforce the law as long as it's not one of your friends?
Right.
Like, how does that work?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I get that there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure that I have lots of people I know that are,
right.
I mean, I might not know they are, but I'm sure they are. And I'll hear that they got deported, and I might be really sad about that.
Right.
But does my sympathy and my feelings translate into, therefore we shouldn't uphold the law when it comes to immigration, or illegal immigration, I should say, or deportations? But from what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like they're trying to deport everybody who is an illegal immigrant. They're looking at the people that are not contributing to society in a good way.
Yeah.
Right. If you're here illegally and you're working and you're a good member of standing of society, great. You know, it's like Obama said years ago.
Should we deport those people?
Yeah. He says,
Probably
no, leave them here. Obama said, he said, leave them here, but you're going to be to the back of the line of those who are doing it legally. And then we will give you the opportunity also to do it legally, but you can stay here while you do so. But what we're not going to do is let you live here for 50 years and never even attempt to assimilate, never attempt to do it the proper way. No, I mean, because then if you're a government and you're saying you're allowing that, what you're saying is we're allowing people to break our laws.
Right.
Which makes you think, well, then why even have the law to begin with?
Right.
Why do you have it if you're not going to uphold it? So,
well, everyone seems to act like ICE just started working. Like, what have they been doing for the last 10 years?
Right, nothing.
You know, they haven't been doing their job. Right. Yeah, they've been deporting people for $1 million a year, something like that. Yeah. You know, I don't know what the number is. Right. But a lot of people are acting like it just started. Yeah. Like they just pulled all these guys off the street yesterday. Say, hey, you want to be an ICE agent? Yeah. Oh, sure, why not? All right, let's throw you in there. No, it's like they've had a job. They've been doing their job this whole time. It just hasn't been in the news because no president had said that they're going to do this. Yeah. Well, Obama did it. Yeah. Clinton did it. Right. You know, all those presidents have done it, regardless of party. Yes, of course. Because it's a law, like you said. Right. But it reminds me of the Tom and Jerry commercial, or the Tom and Jerry cartoon. Remember Jerry draws a line in the sand? Yeah. Don't cross that line, and Tom steps right on the line. Yeah. And then he draws another line. Don't cross that line. Right? Yeah. Yes. Or Tom's the one that's drawn the line in the sand, right? And they keep crossing that line, crossing that line, keep pushing it. And I think at some point when you're bursting at the seams, you know, they cross the line too many times. And so now it's in the news. But just like you said, from the other side of it, I see it because I'm at Santa Maria High School. And everyone's in fear because that's in the news. Right. It's on Telemundo, you know, and that's all they're talking about is you're going to get deported. You're going to get deported. Yes. Your whole family's going to get deported. Right. And you're going to break up families. And that's, it's fear mongering, you know. Of course, And so, that's what the president and everyone's been saying is that if you're here illegally, you're breaking the law. Right. You know, but people are driving 70 miles an hour down the freeway. That's breaking the law too. Sure. Is every person that drives 70 down the freeway getting pulled over? No. But should they be? Yes, they should. Correct. Exactly. That's the law. Yes. But they're not getting pulled over. Right. Right? So if you're here illegally, you're breaking the law. Yeah. But should you be deported? Yes. Right. But do you have to be deported? Right. The answer is no. Well, will you? I think it's the same thing because you say there's not enough police officers to bust every single speeding person. Right. And the same way, there's not going to be enough ICE agents or whatever to deport every single illegal immigrant. That's why I think that they're purposely targeting those that are not contributing, you know? Right. So, so politically going back, you know, immigration is a hot topic. Right now, for sure. Yes. Right now. Yes. And it will be for, I think, for the next several months. But in my mind, like, okay, I just drove yesterday. Saturday. I drive by the fields, drive down the freeway. On the east side of the freeway, there's a lot of fields, right? Yeah. And there's people out there working every Saturday. Yeah. Well, this Saturday, I didn't see anybody. Really? I drove down the freeway 4 times yesterday.
Crazy.
I didn't see anybody out in those fields.
Why do you think that is? Do you think they're gone, or are they afraid?
There's fear of deportation.
So they're just not going to work.
And nobody knows anyone that's been deported yet in the city.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
It's just, it's the fear.
Yeah.
And at Santa Maria High, they have a farmer's market every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's packed. And a lot of people go there. A lot of vendors.
Yeah.
A lot of shoppers.
Do they have the churro guy there?
Yeah. You should go.
I should.
Yeah. Great fruit for cheap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it's all from Mexico, maybe it's not. But now with the tariff thing,
right?
You know,
right?
They're probably not gonna be there anymore. But I went on Friday. This Friday, it was about half full from what it normally is. Okay. Yeah, so everyone's living in fear. I mean, imagine moving to Germany. I got a buddy in Germany. You know, imagine Germany cracking down on all Americans that live in Germany. You know, and being like, "Hey, we're gonna send you back home."
Well, if they were there illegally,
yeah,
I would support it.
Yeah,
I mean, in a sense, right? If that was a problem,
yeah.
I mean, so I guess that's what I would ask you. Like, do you think illegal immigration right now, as it stands in our country, is a problem for our country, or do you think if we just left it as is, it wouldn't be an issue?
So my feeling is, so everyone's gonna stop working. Produce prices are gonna go up. Mm-hmm. Restaurants, like half of your staff in all the restaurants are illegal immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So the restaurant prices are going to go up because no one's going to work. They're going to have a hard time filling all those positions.
Right.
You know, construction's another field where there's a lot of people. Roofing.
Yeah.
Like I did roofing, right? It's a hard job.
I bet. Yeah.
Right? And so I know a lot of people pay cash for roofs. Mm-hmm. It's any job that you can get paid cash.
Yeah.
That's the job where you're going to find work, you know, if you're illegal. So I think all of those businesses are going to close in the next year because they're not going to be able to find workers because they're going to have to raise all the prices. Well, who's going to buy all their product?
Right.
So all the produce prices are going to go sky high, plus all the factories where food like beef, all the cattle ranches, the slaughterhouses. Mm-hmm. You know, any
so you think prices are going to skyrocket everywhere is what you're saying?
I think there's going to be another recession because of the immigration policy.
Okay.
And I didn't have a debate, but one of my students whose parents are illegal, a kid that I mentored, you know, and he's really into politics, local politics and stuff like that. And so we kind of had a talk. This is a year ago. And I was like, well, I feel like there's no border policy. A year ago, people were just coming in droves, and they removed all barriers, and they cut down the wall and all that stuff. People were coming in droves, and I was like, well, there's no policy. There's no front door anymore.
Right.
And so I was like, you got to have a front door. You got to have like.
So you see that as an issue? I saw
that as a huge issue, and I told him this, and he's like, you're right. There's no border policy, and now that we have a border policy, which is, you know, deport everybody and block everyone from coming in. Yeah. I think it's going to be temporary. Okay. You know, I think this is temporary right now. I don't think it's going to be permanent. You know,
what's going to be temporary? Like the
deport everybody.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to be able to deport every single person.
So you think they're gonna relax that a little bit as time goes?
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be because of what you're saying, like with the inflate? And
so just like take my classroom for example. I have 36 students in a classroom, and 5 kids talk every day. And so I'm constantly telling them, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet.
Right.
You know, and
repeat offenders.
There's no talking in my class or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I tell them to be quiet, and then I move their seats and I do all the stuff. And then there's 2 kids that are always constant behavior problems. I could deal with that, right? Because it doesn't matter what school you're at.
Right.
In any country, any school in America, you're going to have a couple bad apples, right? Well, then imagine it's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and then it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids causing problems. The people that cause the problems, only about 10% of the population is causing the problems in a school.
Right.
And that's any place of work. I would say it's about 10% of doctors, right? 10% of doctors are, like you said, you know, they were the last in their class, you know, and they don't deserve to be a doctor.
I would say that's even a high number, 10%.
Yeah, it's pretty high. It's generous. Yeah. But I would say the same for being an illegal immigrant in the country, right?
Right.
Only 10% of the people are causing 90% of the problems.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would think that would be even less.
Right.
I think it'd be like 4 or 5% maybe.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but and is it a problem for America? And I don't think it's a problem.
Those 4 or 5%, or the rest of them?
The rest of them.
So you're saying if we just deported the 4 or 5% that are a problem, that would be good enough,
right?
To you,
and then have more restrictions on who
gets.
Like I was saying, the 1-year-old versus the kid being born here.
Sure.
Having more restrictions on who gets help.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you gotta, in the capitalist society, you gotta earn your way.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, you gotta earn your way. You gotta deserve what you get. You gotta work for it.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be in America. And that's how things happen. You start a podcast out of your living room.
Right.
And you can see that you shoot for the moon.
Right.
And that's the way society is supposed to work.
Sure.
But when you're giving handouts to everybody, it's like you got to draw the line. Like I said, draw the line in the sand somewhere.
Right. That's the way America is supposed to work. Right. That's the way capitalism is supposed to work. It's supposed to be the place of opportunity where anybody can come over and bust their butts and make a life for themselves.
And that's 90% at least.
Right.
90% are earning it.
Well, and even that 10% that you're talking about, they could do that too.
Right.
If they chose to, but they're choosing instead to live a life
and they're giving everybody else a bad name.
Correct. Yes.
They're giving everybody else a bad name.
Right. So your solution then, like we made you border czar tomorrow.
Okay.
Your solution would be, if I'm hearing you right, would be to deport the problems, the problem people only.
Right.
And then close the border down to where we're not getting more influx, but those that are already here that are good members of society that aren't causing an issue, just let them stay.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Right. They earned it.
See, and I could get on board with something like that.
Right. If you earn something, you deserve it, right? People, how many people live in Santa Maria? It's 120,000. 10,000 people, they own houses in the city of Santa Maria. And they earned it. They earned that house because they worked for it.
Right.
And they don't necessarily go around protesting or anything like that.
Sure.
But they earned their house.
Right.
So who am I to go take away their house?
Right.
And say, hey, you got to go back to Mexico, and they don't have any family in Mexico. Who knows?
Right.
Everybody has their own story.
Yeah. What about the critique though that
it's not all one size fits all?
Sure. Oh, it never is. No, it never is because each person's an individual. Yeah. But like, what about the critique that the people that, let's say they've been here for 20 years as illegal immigrants and they've worked in, let's say, in the fields or whatever, and they're getting paid and they're earning their house. They're buying a house with the money that they have. But then there's the critique that says, but they're not paying taxes the way that we are. Mm-hmm. Right. Those are
if you're getting paid cash.
If you're getting paid under the table, or you're getting, you're not paying the same taxes. You're not having to pay insurance premiums because you just go when there's a problem. You go to the hospital. Well, you either get Medi-Cal or you just go in as a cash. Mm-hmm. Or I don't have any money, and they treat you. They have to treat you. You go in there with a gunshot wound. They can't be like, oh, you have no money, see you later, go bleed out in the alleyway.
Right.
No, they have to fix you, whether you're going to pay them or not, which I think is good. Right. I don't think that doctors should be like, well, you don't have the funds. Sorry, you're a goner. Go put a Band-Aid on that. No, there should be that, but it just seems somewhat unfair to those that did it the right way.
Right.
Or are legal citizens that are doing the same thing. They're working, they're getting the paycheck, they're paying off their house, but they're also paying all these huge taxes. They're paying into these welfare systems. They're paying into all this stuff that taxes go to when others are not. Right. That seems like an unfair thing.
Right. So the key word is fair.
Right.
Right. It's not fair. Your cup's bigger than mine.
Yeah.
You got more chai than I did.
I did.
It's not fair.
You're
so
right.
I want.
But more. I bought the chai.
Yeah, you bought the chai.
And the cup and the straw.
Yeah. So you own me.
Yeah. Exactly.
But fairness, as a kid growing up,
it's
not fair. I want the same that they got. You know what I mean?
I don't think that should be the case.
So I don't think there has to be fairness across the board.
I don't either. When we're talking about stuff like that, I don't think that. So like this, like if you went to school, you got your degree, and now you're a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't have a degree. I work as a clerk at the library, and I have to deliver pizzas 2 nights a week just to make ends meet, right? I don't look at that and say, Doug, it's not fair. I should have exactly what you have. Right. And if you're smart, which you are, your response to me would be, yeah, but Ryan, I worked really hard to get this. You didn't.
Yeah.
Which is true. I didn't go to school for that.
Right.
I didn't pay the money to go to school. I didn't bust my butt studying and getting the grades and doing all that stuff. You did. So therefore you have a better standing financially than I do. And that is fair to me because you worked for it and I didn't.
Right.
What I'm saying is if like 2 people are working the same and only one of them is paying into something that everyone else is supposed to be paying into,
right?
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Like me and you, we make different financially money, but we're probably paying the same percentage. Like I pay a percentage of my paycheck, you pay a percentage. You're probably paying more because your paycheck is bigger than mine.
Right.
But we're still paying the same percentage.
Yeah.
You know, give or take. I know there's different brackets and stuff, but you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what I see. That doesn't seem fair in that sense. But I'm not saying everybody should have the exact same things as everyone else.
Right.
You drive a Mercedes, and I should drive a Mercedes, or whatever. You know. So
I believe there's always exceptions to certain rules.
Okay.
Right? So if you have, like in sports, like I have kids, like if you miss another practice, you're off the team.
Right.
And then a kid comes to me and says, we got in a car accident on the way to practice.
Right. He's got a good excuse.
Am I off the team? Nope.
Yeah.
You're not off the team. But I told you yesterday.
Have to run a lap.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to make an exception for this kid.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so there's exceptions to every rule.
Yes.
Right? So there has to be an exception or a clause or something like that. There has to be certain rules in place, and that's, you know, if we're talking about immigration, that's a policy.
Yeah, in immigration, break down what you're saying. Like, give me the scenario within immigration.
Right. It's not a like one size fits all, or it's you know, if
it's case by case.
Case by case, exactly, 100%. I think in like voting, you know, like you asked me, the first question was, do you vote? You know, and I was like, yeah. And does my vote count? If I vote for Kamala or if I vote for Trump, does it count? Well, in California,
not really.
Not really. So what I'm concerned about are the local bills, you know, the propositions. You know, that's what concerns me.
The stuff that's going to affect your personal life.
It's going to, you know, taxes and like, you know, school bonds and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I'm more into that than I am, you know, who's going to be president. But now these things are really important. It's the, you know, it's the flavor of the day.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays, like who you voting for. And if, like you said earlier, if you vote for Trump, that makes you a racist.
Yes.
If you vote for Kamala, that makes you a what do you call it, sympathizer, or you want DEI or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's not the case. You know what I mean? It's like you have to pick sides almost,
because you can't say every person that voted for Trump is a white supremacist and every person that voted for Kamala voted for her because she's a black woman. That's what you're saying. You'd have to ask each individual person, why did you vote for Kamala Harris?
Right.
Why did you vote for President Trump?
Right.
You know, and you're right. There probably are plenty of people. Not plenty. I don't think there's that many. But there are some that the America kind of guys are like, yeah, we're MAGA Trump. Yeah. Or, you know. But I think the vast majority of America just was like, no, he's just better than Kamala Harris as a candidate, right? Like,
exactly.
Like I look at what's my life going to be like under these two people,
right?
And I think for a lot of us, we looked at Kamala Harris and said it's going to be just like it was under Joe Biden, except like worse.
Yeah,
because she's
giving everything for free.
Yeah,
and
she's more incompetent than him, if you ask me, in a lot of ways. And he's almost
for me. It's being an orator too. You know, it's like I saw all those presidential candidates speak, and so, you know, I want to know the person that can speak and not read a teleprompter and have people tell you what to say,
and even then mess it up.
Yeah,
it's like all you had to do is read the cue card, man.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is terrible. So bad.
Yeah, but now you have to pick sides. You know.
Yeah.
You have to pick sides. Are you gonna side with, you know, and it's pretty much one policy right now is immigration in this city. What side are you on? You know, and people are going to be asking me in the next 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
Like, whose side are you on?
Right.
Are you with me or against me?
Yes.
You know, and I have friends that if I tell them, you know, I don't want my friends and my students to be deported, then they're going to call me a sellout. Right. And they're never going to talk to me again. And if I say, oh, I think it's okay if they're deporting people that are criminals, you know, and then, you know, it's the other side. I'm like,
then somebody will say, but my uncle has a felony.
Yeah.
That he committed 30 years ago. Yeah. So he's technically a criminal, but you don't understand, he's reformed. He's a great guy. Yeah. So, I mean, you're always going to have somebody that's going to be upset with you for, Yeah.
So that's why I've always been really apolitical, you know, and I vote across party lines all the time, you know, and
I think we all should.
Yeah. and Republicans have always been the party of common sense, and Democrats have always been the party of give everything away, you know?
Right.
But I did this with my class one time. I teach math, and I never got into politics or anything like that. But kids always ask questions, and they want to know stuff. Like, my government teacher told me blank, you know, the president's going to do this. I'm like, yeah, the president's going to abolish the 14th Amendment, right? Does the president have the power to do that? Well, we have. If you ever took government class, you know there's checks and balances. You got judicial branch, you got the executive branch, you know. You got the House, you got the Senate, you got all these people, it's checks and balances.
Right.
So the president, like George Bush Jr., he said he's going to vote, he wants school vouchers, right? And so my teachers union said I wasn't allowed to vote for George Bush because he wanted school vouchers. Because school vouchers would kill public education.
Yeah.
You know?
And for a teacher, that's personal.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah. Maybe I will vote for him just because you're telling me not to.
Right, yeah.
You can't vote for George Bush. Okay, check the box. That's almost exactly what I did, too.
That's
by the way.
Funny.
Because I knew it would never happen.
Right.
I knew it would never pass the Senate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's unrealistic. And for Trump to say birthright citizenship, you know, that's 14th Amendment. He's like, yeah, we're going to abolish it. Yeah. And we're going to get rid of the 14th Amendment. You're going to rewrite the Constitution. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You know, and people are saying, well, he wants to get rid of birthright citizenship. It's like, he could say all he wants to, you know, he's doing all these crazy things.
Right.
But some of them are effective. Some of them are common sense, you know, and, you know, Musk is over there and he's already saving us billions of dollars because of people writing bonds or writing government grants for all these things.
Right.
He's already saving us billions of dollars on stuff, you know. Whatever it is, you know, I heard some crazy studies that have been done that are going on out there, you know, they're spending millions of dollars on wild stuff.
Right.
You know, matching socks or something like that. I heard one of them, you know, and it's like...
Well, that's important, man. Matching socks.
Yeah, you got to learn how to match your socks, you know, and so we're going to save $1.5 million a year, so we're going to get rid of that. Well, it's common sense, you know what I mean? We should be doing things that are common sense, but you know, on the other side of it, you know, if it's going to affect our economy, like, I don't know if we should be doing it. You know what I mean?
Right. And
the government or the president can make all these decisions and say all these things, but he has to have permission.
Yeah, he's not a monarch. He can't just go in there and say, I'm doing all this. I don't care what anybody says. Get out of my face.
Yeah, the legislative branch. And that's what everyone says. That's why everyone calls him a Nazi, or they call him this or call him that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, but he's not going to get away with half the stuff that he says.
Right.
Because he's a wild man, because he just fires people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But he gets stuff done. I think of it like, so my wife worked at the Miller's Outpost, Anchor Blue. She was the manager, right? And she had to follow the rules. So she followed the rules. And a lot of people didn't like her because she followed the rules.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they hate you if you do that.
Yeah. And so my friend's sister worked for her. And she's like, you're dating that girl? She's evil. I'm like, why? Because she gets the job done?
Right.
You know, and that's kind of the Trump thing. You know, he's a businessman and he gets the job done, you know?
Yeah.
And he's getting jobs done right now. And I don't know. It's a great... For, like you said, Great Awakening is a crazy political time right now, and everything's political. And I'm not a protester, you know. I'm not going to just stand on the corner and protest.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't see it reforming anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If he already laid down the law and said this is the law we're going to follow now, it's already a law. We're just going to follow it.
Right.
You know, like you said.
Right.
We're just going to follow the law. So people are upset about that. You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you upset about the laws of the U.S.?
Right. If you want to change the laws, then try to change the laws. But while the laws are in place, you got to follow them.
Yeah.
You know,
you got to follow the rules.
That's why they're there. You know, if you like I said, if you disagree with it, then make the changes to try to change it.
Yeah. Want to know another reason why I'm partial? Just because of my students and the people that I work with. I'm impacting lives and I'm changing people's lives. And I'm teaching, you know, people how to become Americans, You know, not necessarily citizens, but Americans.
Sure.
Citizenship.
Yeah. Yes.
Like doing the right thing and making the right decisions and living a good life.
Yeah.
And growing into a great human being, having a good adult responsibilities. You know, Johnny didn't become a citizen until she was 30.
Really?
Yeah, I think she was 30, 28, something like that.
So she was in high school. She wasn't a citizen yet.
Right. So they had visas, and she got a green card and stuff like that. But she didn't actually go through I was with her. Do I want to say she was 30? I can't remember.
Okay.
It was late 20s, but
okay.
But she was not a citizen, and I just think right now at this time, if I married her, right, and if she was not a citizenship, then I'd be living in fear that my wife's going to be deported.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, that's my wife.
And the mother of your children.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So do I want them to deport my wife? Heck no.
Right.
And to think that there's probably thousands of people that are in that situation right now.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I got two neighbors. One of them is, well, they're both illegal, right? One of them is hard-working dude. You know, he's a contractor and he works his butt off. And his wife's a teacher. And great neighbor. Got two good kids, you know? And the kids play together and stuff like that. Right. You know, love having this neighbor.
Yeah.
He's here illegally. If he gets deported, it would crush the family, it would crush the neighborhood. Yeah. He does like a lot of maintenance on my house and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
He's been my electrician.
Yeah.
Another neighbor got busted for illegal drugs. He's got dogs. The dog was barking all night. I didn't get much sleep last night. That's why I'm rambling. The dogs bark all night. He doesn't do anything about it. He's been deported once already. He's a criminal.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like living next to this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I don't need to live next to this guy, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, if he gets deported, I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah, because he's not contributing good stuff to society.
Right. He started out as a painter. He was running a painting business out of his house. And all these guys, he'd pay him in cash on Fridays, you know, and they're all probably illegal. I'm just making an assumption. But, and they sit out and drink cervezas in the front yard, you know, and they never played loud music. I get along with them. I'm like, I got to live next to the guy. And all my other neighbors are like, you got to tell that guy off, you know? I'm like, yeah, then he's got guns in the house.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
you don't want him to be your enemy either.
I'm not his enemy.
Right.
I'm going to work with this guy, you know? Yeah. And that's my demeanor. But all my other neighbors are like, you got to tell him off. You got to turn him in. You got to call the police.
Right.
Any false move. If he lifts a finger, you call the police. Right. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because I'm his neighbor, you know?
Yeah.
But if he gets pulled over and he has like 10 pounds of drugs in his car, supposedly that's what happened, and he gets deported, then I'm okay with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. I'm not going to be upset about it. You know?
Don't
but my other neighbor, I'm going to be upset about.
You don't see the society as losing anything valuable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that other guy, you know, I was like, it's a friend of mine, you know?
Right.
He leaves his lights on in his car, and I call him and I'm like, hey, lights on in your car, you need to turn it off. You know, you left your garage door open.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
Okay, so this will be the final question for you with this topic.
Okay.
And then we'll take a break, and then we'll get some spirituality in. But so I agree with what you're saying. I'm with you on this. I think it's...
Well, that was part of the agreement was you get to disagree with me.
Right.
And you don't have to agree with me.
Right.
Exactly.
But I do agree with you. So, but my question to you is, as we kind of lock down the border, like we've been discussing like people that are already here. And of the people that are already here, who do we send back? And I'm with you. Like it's the people that are crime and you know, not contributing good things to society. They're contributing bad things to our society, right?
Yeah.
But would you say that as we lock down the borders and as we try to prevent as much illegal immigration from taking place, let's say a guy just like that is trying to get in illegally. A guy like your neighbor that you like. Great guy.
Yeah.
Wonderful family guy, helps everybody out, just a loving, giving, great guy. He would come in here illegal and he would be a great member of society.
Right.
But if you're at the border and he's asking you, hey, I know I'm illegal, but I'm a great guy, I want to get in and I want to do, what do you say at that point? Like he's not here yet,
right? But
he's trying to get in. And you know he would be a good addition to society. Do you tell him, look, dude, I know you're a great guy, but do it the right way?
Yeah.
Or do you let him in anyway?
No, I say there's a front door and a back door.
Okay.
You know, the front door is sign this paper. We just have to have documentation on who's here. You know, it's like you got a fence around your house for a reason.
Correct.
Right? So we need a fence around the country.
Yeah.
So we need to know who's in our house.
Yes.
And so just fill out this paper, tell me who you are. And that's how it was. You know, a lot of people say all Americans are illegal immigrants, right? Yeah. But they came through.
Well, we're all immigrants.
Yeah, we're all immigrants.
Not necessarily illegal.
Not illegal.
Yeah.
But we came here and they just signed the ledger, you know, at Ellis Island.
Yes.
And like Silva, that's not the name of my ancestors that came here.
Right.
It wasn't Silva. They just gave everybody the Silva name. They're like, De Souza?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Silva.
Yeah.
All right. Teixeira? Oh, you're a Silva. Yeah. So that's why there's so many Silvas around
You're from
here.
Portugal? Silva.
Yeah, everyone's Silva from Portugal.
Right.
Yeah. Or the Azores.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they signed, to answer your question, they signed their name, and there's documentation that they signed their name, and they said, I want to go to the United States because I heard it's a great place.
Right.
The streets are paved with gold.
Right.
Right? So that's how our ancestors came. So
yes.
if a gentleman came like that from, you know, it doesn't have to be from Mexico either.
No, and it doesn't.
From
but
any country
where
in the
we
world.
are here, that's what we have mostly.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, why are you always picking on Mexico?" Because I live in Southern California.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in Canada or whatever, you have, or in like northern United States, you have Russians that are coming over. I mean, it's the same issue up there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So I would say sign your name. We got a front door and a back door. Sign your name, and you can come, right? You just don't violate the law, and that's legal citizenship. Yeah. I had a student. He was here illegally. He played football, and then I got him to wrestle a little bit. And his dream job was police officer. He wanted to be a police officer. And so I try to counsel kids and help them out, whatever you want to do.
Sure.
And so I was like, you know, it'd be a good deal to go in the military. And he was illegal. And I was like, you just got to go through your citizenship. And he was working. I think I got a job at the restaurant, you know, because we paid him cash.
Right.
And so he saved up enough money to get a lawyer and go through the process of becoming a citizen. And he went through the military, and he became a police officer.
Nice, dude.
Right?
That's awesome.
He did it the right way. You know? That's a kid that I mentored. He actually coached with me for a couple years. He didn't know a thing about wrestling.
Yeah.
But he coached just because he wanted to be a part of it. You know.
Sure.
And so he's just around just good people and a good culture.
Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
know? And so his name is Victor, and I haven't seen Victor in a long time, but I know that it's something that he wanted, and so if you want something bad enough, you'll do it. Yeah. And like you said, with getting a passport and all that stuff, now people want it.
Yes.
They want to get the passport. They want to get the citizenship because they want to stay here.
Right.
This is where their family at. This is where their roots at. They are, you know, I can't say they are Americans. They live in America. Right. Right? Right. But they want to be American.
Yes.
Like that's 90% of the people that live in Santa Maria.
Right.
You know? Right. And so they don't want to be deported.
No.
They don't want to go.
No, why would you?
So that's why they're protesting.
Yeah, of course.
They're not protesting because they love Mexico.
Right.
Well, they do. But they're protesting because they love America.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And that's the point.
Yes.
You know, that's the point of them being able to stay.
Right.
Is that they love it here. It's a great place to live.
It is. Yes.
You know? And I want to live anywhere. Well, maybe San Diego.
Yeah.
Or Hawaii.
Other than America, I might want to live in like San Diego.
Yeah. Other than America, San Diego might be great.
All right, man. Cool. That was a good topic.
Yeah.
So you already kind of talked testimony a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's kind of get into kind of the nitty gritties of your spiritual journey. Yeah. So I mean, at what point in your life would you say that you became a Christian? Do you think that happened at Awanas, or do you think it happened later on, like when you really kind of made it your own kind of thing, or?
Right. So when it's becoming a Christian, I don't think you become a Christian at one moment. I think some people flip the light switch on and it stays on, right? Yeah. But I think Christianity is you're always becoming a Christian every single day.
Like you're growing, you mean?
You're growing.
Sure.
You're growing your faith.
But when I say become a Christian, I mean like
if you're the moment.
Yeah, if you're not a Christian and you die, you're in hell.
Right.
If you are a Christian, you're in heaven.
Right.
So at what point for you did you cross the border over to, if I die today, I'm in heaven?
Right. So I think I was 10 years old.
Okay.
10 or 12. Okay. I can't remember. And that's one of the things when you're a kid, like I said, you got to make a decision. It's going to last the rest of your life.
Yeah.
When you're 12 years old, you know, that's when I you know, I said the prayer, I prayed.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's Romans 10:9. Confess with your mouth that you will be saved.
Believe in your heart and confess with
believe
your
in
mouth.
your heart
Yep.
that Jesus was raised and you will be saved.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I prayed that prayer when I was 12 years old, and I think I was out in Awanas, and I had been reading the Bible and memorizing verses for a long time, you know, and I had prayed it, and I felt a movement, you know. I felt the chills and the hair on the back of my neck stand up, and I felt like, you know, I was being spoken to at that moment, you know, and I felt like a change and a need to do the right thing and make the right decision and walk the path of a Christian. You know, like most Christians, you get led the wrong way here and there throughout your lifetime.
For sure.
So I struggled through, you know, the influence of my teenage years and, you know, in my early 20s, but I didn't get baptized till I was in my 30s when I got baptized. Because I went to a Baptist church, but they never did baptisms on Sundays. I never got that. It's like Pine Grove Baptist Church doesn't baptize people. Like I never saw anyone get baptized, and I went every Sunday.
I've seen someone get baptized there.
I know, but I don't. I just don't recall.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, because they have an actual baptismal back there.
Right.
So
you get the dunk tank.
Yeah.
Over in the back.
Okay, so let me ask you then. So you believe that you were saved when you were 10 or 12. That's around the time. Yeah. But then you're in your 30s and you're like, I need to be water baptized. Yeah. Like, what led to that decision at that point in your life?
Yeah, so I was, I've always been a reader, and I've always read the Bible, and I was like, you know, I've never been saved. I never had anyone ask me if I wanted to be baptized. Okay. You know, it was never been like something that was like, hey, you want to get baptized today? Yeah. You know, no one ever asked me. Okay. And I the churches I went to, I didn't really see baptisms, you know, and I went to multiple churches over a certain time. And so it wasn't until I was at a small little church called the Gospel Church.
Oh, with Brian Stolte.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I was there. Did you go there?
I've been to a couple of the men's breakfasts there. I know Brian personally. And okay. And we always said at the church we were at, we always said if this church closes down, we would go there. Okay. Like that was always our second choice. And I hung out with a lot of the people and some of the guys that went back there back then. I don't know if you know Mark Mayberry or Nick Harvey. Do you know these guys? Yeah. They were part of the elder board over there for a long time. Yeah, a bunch of elders. Mike Conley. Yeah, like all those guys. Yeah. So
there was a big split and they all took off.
So
we were right in the beginning of those phases. But we had gone, it was called Mosaic Church. It was on West Fessler. And so that was the first small church in 2000. I want to say 2007 when we started going there.
That was Brian Stolte also?
No, so Mosaic was, I can't remember Chris's last name, right? Chris, he went to Rigetti. He was a basketball kid. He graduated in like 92, 93.
Chris, basketball guy?
Yeah, I can't remember Chris's last name right now.
I don't know either. But he's a pastor now?
Yeah. He was pastor. We had a church, and it was like family church, and that's what we went to. Okay. And then they moved. They moved up north to Sonora or something like that, and went to a church up there. And then we found Gospel Church, and it was the same location of all places.
Interesting.
And so we started going there until they closed.
Gotcha. You were there up until that went down?
Yeah. Okay. They shuttered pretty bad after the big split. Oh, yeah. Colton. It's Chris Colton. Oh. Kalton.
Yeah. Yeah. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he was... We started out Pioneer Valley Cafeteria. We went across the street from Olive Garden on Sunday nights. And then we found that little church building on West Fessler. Yeah. And we were there for a couple years. And then they were gone, and then Gospel Church came in, and so it just happened to be in the same building.
Okay, so that's what brought you there.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And so I knew a bunch of people, and Jeremy Hernblad, you know, he was there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had Jared on the show.
Jared,
his brother. Yeah.
Yeah. I think both went there.
Okay.
Jeremy is the oldest, I think. Yeah. I can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah, Jared's young.
Yep.
Yeah. So I knew those guys, and then they shut down. And then that's when I started going First Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started watching First Christian online. Like I said, and I think it was 2018, started watching online, and then COVID, and watched the whole COVID every Sunday, you know, and then we started going in person, and you know, and then trying to take the kids, getting them involved.
Okay.
But I've been doing that. So that's kind of my church background there.
Yeah.
In my early 20s, I went to a lot of different churches. We church hopped and stuff, and went to a lot of different places. And
okay.
Even the harbor, we went to the harbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that was probably back when Steve Pruitt was the pastor, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Jeff Pruitt.
Jeff was there too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we came right after the guy. So when Steve retired, a guy named Shannon took over for him. Mm-hmm. And then we started going there literally like the week after Shannon left.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't on purpose. I didn't know any of these people. Like,
yeah.
that wasn't the way it worked out. It was just that we had been going to a different church for like 12 years out in Sisquoc.
Okay.
And then that stopped. I mean, that's a long story how that'll happen. But
yeah.
We ended up out at the harbor because my mom was over there.
Mm-hmm.
She was kind of church hopping, and she's like, oh, Ryan, I really think you'd like this pastor of this church, or the guy who's teaching at this church. Mm-hmm. She goes, his name's Matt Pettit. Mm-hmm. I go, I know Matt Pettit. Like, he used to go to Calvary with me like way back in the day.
Okay.
So he was a member there.
Yeah.
And when the pastor left, he just kind of was filling in. And there was really no pastor. So the first like year or two that we went there was no actual official pastor. It was kind of an elder led. So, and that's where I met Mark Mayberry. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the elders there, and he would teach, and another guy would teach, and I think there were like 3 or 4 of them that would just kind of take turns teaching every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then we eventually got the youth pastor ended up becoming the senior pastor. He was kind of voted in as senior pastor, mm-hmm. and then we were there for another couple of years after that. Right. But anyway, isn't that funny how we just kind of, you know,
yeah, so
we barely missed each other.
Well, that's one of the things that led me First Christian. They were the first place I found that had an online service.
Okay.
You know, and I was like, I need to get plugged in somewhere, and they have this M3 group. They do like a Tuesday night, and so I started going to that, and they do a dinner, a men's group.
Yeah.
So
I used to go to the morning one.
Okay, yeah.
Was it Friday mornings, or where was it? With like she's quacking.
Yeah,
she's a quacker. With like it was like Mike Knight, and do you know these guys? Mike Knight, and one of the pastors, Don Knapp.
Don, yeah.
So he was part of this study.
He leads the usually those small groups, and
right.
He spoke this Sunday.
Okay.
Today. I'm like this Sunday. Okay. Yeah, he was up there today. It's funny. I always felt like as a teacher, my goal to have a student-centered classroom. Mm-hmm. So where I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you, and we're working together. A discussion group.
Yes.
I always felt like church should be that way.
Yeah.
Where it's a back and forth between the speaker and
great.
the congregation, right?
Yeah.
So talk to people. You know how some comedians do that, you know? Mm-hmm. Where they talk to people in the crowd?
Yeah.
I always felt like church should be like that.
Okay, man, how long you guys been dating?
Yeah.
You know, then all these jokes come out of that, right? Because it's just naturally funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, so I always felt like church should be like that, where it's more of a connection, not this big stage.
Yeah, not like the pastor's better than you are, and you're this low little peon, you know.
Especially being a Christian, you know, it's like everyone's on the same level.
Yeah.
Everyone's on the same, and everybody has something to give.
Sure.
Right?
Different
has
things.
Something
different
to contribute.
Callings.
And that's what M3, well, it was M4, now it's M3. Mm-hmm.
What was the change there?
I think they had a M4 and a W3.
Oh,
so they changed it to M3 and W3. So I think it was
for the men's one and the women's one.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
okay.
So they had a women's group and a men's group. So they wanted to have fairness or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. But I always felt like you should have some kind of contribution. Mm-hmm. You know, as sitting there and a listener, and that's always been my goal as a teacher, is to have all the students contribute to the class, you know, and I think it should be every teacher's goal.
Yeah.
You know, get the kids talking, engage all the kids, and if you're not engaged, you're not going to do anything.
And they learn more that way.
And that's what I tell everybody. You're like, math wasn't my thing. I didn't like math. Well, you didn't have the right math teacher.
Right.
You know, you didn't have me as your teacher.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Matt, I don't know. You could probably try to teach them math, and math would still suck.
All right, here, give me that pencil right now.
You're like, let's do some calculus.
We're going to do some integers right now. Something you never understood.
Oh my gosh, yes. I never understood any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so So I like to kind of get into like the kind of an apologetic kind of approach to stuff, especially when I have other Christians on. I kind of like to play devil's advocate and kind of ask some of these questions. But like you mentioned before, like when you felt a change or you felt certain things.
Yeah.
So what do you say to if I was sitting across from you and I was, let's say, a Mormon, or a Jehovah's Witness or a Buddhist or whatever, and I said, well, I think that Mormonism is the true faith. Right. And you said, well, Ryan, why? And I said, well, because I prayed and I had a feeling, like I felt. They will even say, Mormons will say they felt a burning in the bosom, right? That's kind of their tagline, right? And that's how I know that Mormonism is correct. Right. What would you say to me?
I feel like there's many religions around the world, and everybody can believe what they want to believe. Yeah, I'm with you. But I believe what I believe, that I've been moved and I've been touched by God, and I felt that movement when certain Sundays I walk in the church and I'm like, I feel the movement, I feel the power, the Holy Spirit moving in me, and that's the point of Christianity. God's not up there 1,000 million light years away. God's in us, and that's the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit can move at any time, any place, and that's, as a Christian, that's what I believe, that I've been moved and I've been touched by the Holy Spirit, and
Yeah, but how do you refute me as a Mormon if I say the same same story, except it has to do with Mormonism, not Christianity? Right. And I say, no, Mormonism is the true faith because I feel the power of God through Mormonism. Right. And I know you don't believe in Mormonism. Right. So how do you tell me that?
Yeah, it's the same as the GOAT talk earlier. Yeah. LeBron or MJ, who is it? Is it Mormon or is it Christian? That's you think LeBron, I think MJ.
Yeah, but are we both right?
It could be.
You think so? Christianity and Mormonism can both be right?
I think we can both simultaneously believe what we want to believe.
Oh no, I agree with you.
And I can't tell you that you're wrong. Being a Mormon, like I have good friends that are Mormons. Sure. And I don't agree with 90% of the stuff that they say. Yes. But I can't refute your claim. Mm-hmm. I don't have evidence against your belief, even though I disagree with it. Right. Right? So I can't tell you that you're wrong.
Well, they would say that Jesus is not God. Right. Right. You obviously as a Christian.
And they would provide me passages from the Bible to tell me that. Mm-hmm. How is Jesus the Son of God and God? Right. At the same time. Right. Can't be two things at once. Mm-hmm. Well.
What do you think about that?
I think if there's a God could be anything God wants to be. Mm-hmm. Right? God's all knowing, omnipotent. Mm-hmm. Right? God could be anything God wants to be. Right? We don't have any control over that. It's not in our control. Right. Yes. So God can do whatever God wants. I agree. Like this was planned, many, many years ago, us meeting and being here this day. Yeah. I believe everything's pre-planned, you know what I mean? Yes. And that we arrived at this moment, you know, and it was planned. God's plan. Yep. And I can't change that. So I think God could be Jesus, and God could be, the Father, and the Son, the Holy Spirit. All those three things all at once.
And he could be Buddha. Right. But is he Buddha?
Not necessarily.
See, it's not a matter of could he, it's is he. Right. Right? Because I agree with you. God can do whatever he wants. Right. God could be the flying spaghetti monster. God could be whatever, right? He could be non-existent. Mm-hmm. Right? If he wanted to, he could just say, no, I'm gone. I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. There's no more God anymore. Right. But the question is, does he? So the question is and I agree with you, people have the right to believe whatever they want. And I say this all the time on here. I'm like, yeah, if you want to believe whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But the question is, what we believe, is it true? Mm-hmm. Because that's important, right? Yeah. Like you and I would both agree with that. Like we believe in Christianity because we believe it's true. Yeah. We wouldn't believe it if we didn't. Like if we thought, it might be true. I don't know. I just kind of picked this one because I kind of like it. Yeah. I kind of like this Jesus guy. He seems like a cool dude. Yeah. It's like, no, there's some part of us that believes it because we really believe it's true, to where we can listen to somebody from Jehovah's Witness or from Mormonism or even from outside of the Christian faiths like Buddhism or Hinduism. Yeah. We can listen to them and say, I support your right to believe in reincarnation and Hinduism and Krishna and all that stuff. Yeah, I support your right. I don't think it's true. Right. because if I did, I would believe it. Right. I would be a Hindu if I believed Hinduism was true. Right. So I mean, so it's kind of like when you get into a discussion with something like that. I guess for me, like I'm always curious, like what kind of proof or evidence would you have? Would you say you have none? Like you just kind of believe it because you believe it, or do you?
I would say that the evidence is in my belief.
Okay.
Right. So I have this Bible. Mm-hmm. There's hundreds of prophecies that Jesus was going to come, and it was written, and people saw it happening in real time.
Right.
And people say that we have all this evidence of Greek mythology and Romans and Julius Caesar and all these people that came way before Christ. Mm-hmm. And that people take that as factual evidence.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, oh, Caesar did this and Caesar said that and Caesar did this. And you know, I'm surprised there's no religion about Julius Caesar or Roman, you know, to this day.
Right.
Just because people can, like, you know, people see one thing and they believe it, you know.
Right.
But people discount Jesus all the time. That never happened.
Yeah.
Oh, that book, that Bible is just a bunch of stories.
Right.
You know, that none of them are true.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's true. It's written. Like, do you believe Julius Caesar lived?
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. All right. So
right.
then I guess Jesus lived. Oh, no, that can't be.
Yeah.
Right? It was written in the Bible, so I believe it.
And there's more manuscript evidence for the Bible than there is for the writings of Julius Caesar. Yeah.
And it's the most published book in the history of the world.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And all the people, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, all those, they have the same accounting. Mm-hmm. There's written in different perspectives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they all have, we have evidence of that.
Right.
You know, and Mormons discount that for whatever reason. You know, I grilled a Mormon student of mine. You know, he came as an adult and came back and was visiting, and I talked to him for about 3 hours. Nice. I just asked him, I was like, I want you to tell me everything. I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong, but I just want to know everything that you believe at being a Mormon. You know, he was just born into it. You know,
right.
It's like, why do you believe it? Mm-hmm. And so he gave me all of his information, you know, and pulled out his Mormon Bible, and I've actually read the Mormon Bible, not the whole thing, but I've read bits and pieces of it, you know, and I'm like, and there's a lot of Bible verses in there from the Bible, you know,
right.
And so I thought it was interesting, but I was like, you could take anything and put your spin to it, right? Mm-hmm. You could watch a boxing match and say that Mike Tyson beat Jake Paul,
right?
You know, they boxed,
right?
I think Mike Tyson won. Like, there's someone out there that thinks Mike Tyson won that boxing match,
sure,
right?
Right.
So you could put a spin on anything,
but he didn't win.
But he
right?
But he didn't win.
So you can think that he won, but he didn't win. Right. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Like, a Mormon can think the Bible's not true.
Right.
And the parts where it says Jesus is deity, Jesus is God, like that thing, they can say, no, that's not true.
Right. They put their own spin on it.
But they're wrong.
Right.
Right. From me and my eyes perspective, right?
Yes.
And I think what you're talking about is exactly important evidence. When you say, well, look at the scriptures, how they've been put together, how we have them. Like you're saying, they talk about all this stuff that Jesus did and said and taught. Mm-hmm. And the evidence for the Bible being true and accurate is so overwhelming. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, that alone is enough to be like, I don't know, man. I don't see that kind of evidence for the Book of Mormon. Right. Or the New World Translation that the Jehovah's Witnesses have. I don't see it. Like, it seems man-made to me, right? Right.
Like a science book. Like, you know, most books are someone's story. Right. Right? Someone tells a story. Yeah. A science book. Oh, maybe it's a collection of stories, maybe it's not. But we take it as factual information because it's historical. It's these things actually happened. Right. It's a history book. Science is a history of scientific discoveries. Correct. The Bible is a history of Christianity. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a history of what happened. Right. It's like a history book. Right. At the end of the day, and there's factual pieces of information of events that happened over a series of, you know, how many years does it span? Like 800 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. the history.
Thousands if you count the Old Testament.
Yeah, if you go all the way back.
Right.
If you're going back to Moses.
Yeah.
And Genesis. Yeah. But so the New Testament just, it's all factual things that actually happened.
Right.
So I would say, and like I said earlier, the debate, if you're going to debate somebody, you could cite your information, they could cite their information, and you're not going to agree on it because you stand solid in that. You stand solid in how you feel. I stand solid in how I feel. Right. And I've debated people over the years about their beliefs, and I debated with an atheist, for like all-nighter. I pulled an all-nighter one time with a debate of it with an atheist.
Nice. You should have recorded. That would have been a good podcast.
Yeah, I was like, so remember the Rupsik story? The guy I was in the golf cart with, Josh J. We were roommates in San Luis Obispo, and one of our other roommates went to school with us too. Me and Josh debated this guy. We stayed up all night, and he was trying to discount the Bible and doing all these things, and we're going round and round. We're doing the circular argument,
right?
And it kept going and going and going, And he tried to disprove us by saying, "Prove it." I was like,
right.
It's like the innocent and guilt thing, in the court of law. It's like, do I need to prove my innocence or do I need to prove my guilt?
Right.
It's like,
right.
I have evidence. I'm telling you what the evidence is.
Yes.
Does this actually happen? That Jesus actually walked the earth?
Right.
Well, prove it. Okay, let me get my phone out.
Right.
And I got a selfie of Jesus right here. My phone.
Right.
How do you want me to prove it?
Yeah.
If it actually happened.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He wants you to build a time machine and take it back to the year.
He's like,
33 BC or AD and show
right.
it.
Yeah,
right.
You can't prove that Jesus lived. I'm like, you can't prove that Jesus did not live.
Right.
And that's what you're trying to tell me.
Sure. Well, I mean, to prove Jesus existed as a person,
right,
is historical. Like, you just got to go into history the same way you can prove that George Washington existed or Benjamin Franklin or any of these people, right? Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
But then to prove that he claimed divinity and that he died on a cross and that he resurrected from the dead and that we need him in order to be saved, right? Those are all different claims that need different kind of evidence, right?
Yeah.
And through my research and my studies, I think that there is evidence for all that stuff.
Right.
I think it's fascinating, right? All these things. But like you, when I get into a debate with an atheist or somebody, the only time it's really difficult is when there's not an open-minded kind of person, and that goes for me too. Like if I'm debating and I'm coming from the Christian perspective, if I'm not open-minded enough to take evidence, let's say that an atheist brings evidence that Jesus didn't exist,
right?
I can't just cross my fingers at that and say, blah, 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 I can't hear it. No, get away from me.
Yeah.
And turn a blind eye to it. Like, I have to look it dead in the face.
Yeah.
And if it holds up, then guess what? I'm not a Christian anymore.
Right.
Because, if you can prove to me that you have the bones of Jesus Christ, his body, and you can prove those are actually the bones of Jesus, I'm not a Christian anymore.
Right.
Because that means he died and he still stayed in the grave.
Right.
And my faith is dead, right?
Yeah.
But you have to prove that to me first. But I have to be open to it.
Right.
So he can show me the evidence, but then I might have a counter argument and say, well, that's not really evidence of him, and here's why, right?
Right.
So those are the kind of discussions can continue as long as both sides are open to being wrong.
Right.
Right. And I think some of the most fruitful conversations I've ever had come out of that, but a lot of times, especially when I'm talking with atheists or even people of other faiths, like you just said a minute ago, that they're so stuck in it. Like they're so like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
This is what I believe. It's what I've always believed. Don't tell me anything else. I don't want to hear your evidence. Just get out of my face. Then you can't really talk to somebody like that, right?
Right.
You can't talk to a Christian like that either.
There's no conversation.
Correct. Because they've already made up their minds, and there's no room for the possibility of them being incorrect. How do you talk to somebody like that?
Right.
You can't. There's no... And I'll even tell people, look, if you're not willing to even examine the evidence I'm showing you for the evidence of Christianity, then I got nothing to say.
Yeah. I do the same with conspiracy theorists. I'm
yes.
Like,
yes.
9/11, for example, I'm like, I'm not insulting conspiracy theorists, but they're saying You know? Yeah.
I'll insult them all day long.
All right. It depends on what the conspiracy is.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. All of them are coming true now.
Yeah.
Or whatever they are.
Yeah.
But 9/11, you know, that the government took down the buildings.
Yes. It's an inside job, they say.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And they blew up the building.
Yeah.
And so I have this debate. 6 people attacked me. At, believe it or not, a Super Bowl party. I'm pretty sure it was a Super Bowl party. And it was after the game, you know, and people, all these people were talking about, you know, it came up, you know, and everyone's talking about it. And they're like, if you don't believe the government did this, then something, you know. I was like, I got a question. Raise my hand. I got a question. So who planted the bombs to blow up the towers, you know? Can you answer that?
Yeah, Trump did, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, that's duh, you know? I mean,
yeah. So I get a kick out of some of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, I've had plenty of conspiracy theorists on here that we've had some pretty good moon landing discussions, or 9/11, or you know, Big Pharma, or whatever the case is.
Right. My best one though, we're at Santa Barbara Zoo, right? Yeah. And I'm there with the kids, and we're having a great time and all that stuff. And we go up to the gorilla display, and there's a, you know, you put your face in there, and they take a picture of you. Yeah. And they have,
like you're part of the family tree, or
you're
whatever.
part of the family tree of these gorillas, you know. And then my kids are like, I forgot which one. They're like, Dad, do you think we descended from gorillas? I'm like, do you believe it? Do you believe that we came from gorillas? And they're like, no, we're not hairy like gorillas. Yeah. I'm like, well, we are hairy.
You ever seen an Italian? I don't know.
Yeah, we are pretty hairy. Yeah. But I was like, so if we're cousins with a gorilla, right? That we descended from gorillas, then we descended from, like, if you go back far enough, then we descended from one thing. Yeah. Right? We all came from one thing.
An amoeba.
We all came from one thing, and so we're cousins with basically everything on the planet.
Sure.
You know, grass.
Yeah.
Trees.
Yeah.
Insects.
Yeah.
That's my cousin right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We all descended from one thing, you know, if we're cousins with gorillas.
Right.
Do you believe that?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's too far-fetched to believe.
Yeah.
You know?
So not, we're too smart for that, sorry.
So like the astrophysicists, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? I listened to a lot of his stuff. Yeah. And the universe is expanding because there was a Big Bang.
Right.
So everything's moving. So if there was a Big Bang, then there's an edge of the universe. And he actually has a series called Edge of the Universe. Like if we were to go to the edge of the universe, we'd have to fly at 500 billion light years speed to get to the edge of the universe.
That's pretty fast, dude.
Yeah. 500 billion light years speed to get to the edge of the universe. And don't quote me on that. I know someone's going to be out here listening, and they're going to be like,
you wouldn't be able to go that fast.
Oh, Silva's wrong. You know,
you're a slow driver, so you'd be, you know.
Yeah, I'd be under the speed limit. Yeah. So if there is in fact a Big Bang, like counterproof is that if there's a Big Bang, then the universe is expanding. Then our universe, our Earth, and our sun are moving, right? So essentially, our sun is moving.
Okay.
All right. And our Earth is moving around the sun. Right. But the sun is moving, so that means the Earth is moving away from something.
Okay.
But we're moving perfectly around the sun.
Right. Like we're not getting any closer or farther away from the sun. Right.
Unless you're, never mind.
Climate alarmist.
That's a whole. That's next Sunday.
Yeah,
right?
that'd be another episode. Yeah.
So we have to be moving perfectly around the sun, and the sun's actually moving away from a black hole, pretty much, or an explosion. Okay. So where's the explosion? Where did it happen? Yeah. So we got to have evidence of it. Right. Where that happened. So we don't know where that is. Right. And we don't know where the edge of the universe is at. Right. We don't know these things. Yeah. But we know what the universe looks like. But if there truly was an explosion, then everything in the universe is moving away from something.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But then people say that we're stationary, right? Scientists, we're stationary. We're not moving because we're moving around the sun. Right. But we're not moving away from something. Yeah. If we were moving away from something, we wouldn't be balanced by the sun. Because there's three things in play. You know what I mean? So if we're truly doing that, if we're truly moving away from something, an explosion, then there can't be an explosion.
How so?
How so?
It could have been an explosion in the past.
So we came from nothing. We came from...
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're coming from the evolutionary belief.
So if we believe that there was an explosion and that we're...
Like who Big Banged the Big Bang?
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Who's the Big Banger? Is that kind of your question? Like even if there was a Big Bang, somebody had to do it.
Yeah.
It needed a cause, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there was a Big Bang, like that's one reason why I believe in creation, right? Mm-hmm. We were created by God.
Right.
We weren't created by an explosion.
Okay.
Because everything in the universe had to be created or had to be made in a certain way.
Right.
How were those things made?
Yeah.
They couldn't have been made from one explosion. Like every planet, like Saturn has 12 planets or something like that.
Yeah.
They were all made from an explosion of nothing. The big Higgs boson particle accelerator, you know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying everything we have, everything in existence, it seems ridiculous to think it all was created in the instant of the one Big Bang, boom, there, and everything's there.
Right.
Because things took time to, like the days of creation. It doesn't say God made everything on one day.
Right.
He made one thing one day, and then he kept going. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It can't be made at once.
Right.
Right.
Well, could have been. Again, could God have done it that way?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But did he do it that way?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Right.
Right.
And I agree with you. I don't think so. Yeah.
The other reason in my belief, in my spiritual belief, is when my kids were born. Like that was a real eye opener when I had my first child. It's like, how could this baby be formed from an egg?
Right.
And in my wife's body, and in the changes the woman makes in her body when she gives birth, like that 9 months, like everything happens perfectly, right? Like the change in the body and producing milk and all these things, and then the baby doesn't have any oxygen in the belly, and all of a sudden the next day the baby's out breathing with lungs.
Right.
Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Like, what's the process of that happening? Like, the baby's living in this liquid inside an embryo, inside a placenta, right?
Yeah.
And not breathing off of an umbilical cord pretty much.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the baby comes out and is breathing.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
It's almost like there's a creator who knows what he's doing.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that could be.
It almost fits that model.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, but then you remember that evolution has proven that God doesn't exist, and you're like, oh, dang it!
Oh yeah,
silly me.
That explosion created that baby. Like, yeah,
right,
yeah,
right, yeah.
So it's reverse proof in a way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have all this. For me, it's evidence.
Oh, for sure.
For me, it's evidence, and
yes.
And it's just something that I've grown over as I've aged. And it's just gathering more evidence. Of creation,
Yeah.
And
the more you grow in the Lord, the almost the stronger our faith gets. Like
and the more knowledge you create, you know what I mean? It's like that's more evidence of God.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep.
I don't think that there's any way to disprove that. You can't disprove that.
Yeah.
How's that baby formed? From nothing.
Nothing.
And before I was born, how did I know that baby was going to be born? Yeah. That I was going to have a baby.
Right.
It's like that's an impossibility.
Well, it's all evolution, dude. I mean, you evolve to have sperm cells, and your wife evolved to have an egg, and then you put those together, and then they make a baby.
Right.
Sorry, they make a clump of cells.
A clump of cells,
which eventually becomes a baby, assuming you let it live long enough to.
If all humans came from, exactly. If all humans came from gorillas, so then male and female are basically come from the same thing.
Right.
But nobody's ever proven that.
No.
You know what I mean? Nobody's ever mentioned that anywhere in a science book.
Right.
I've never read it.
No.
I've never seen it. Like,
no.
Male and female
are
two different species. When you think about it, kingdom, phylum. Yeah. No, we're all, what do we call humanoids? Or no.
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens, humanoids.
Yeah.
What movie is that from?
What are we, cyborgs?
Yeah,
cyborgs.
Homo sapiens were one species, right? But male and female,
Yeah.
we're we're not we're brothers and sisters. Wait, we're one thing. It can't be.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But so my final question then for you, because we're running low on time.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is to do with what you just said. So why, if to me and you, that model is just ridiculous. This idea that everything came from nothing, and we look at that and we think that makes literally zero sense.
Yeah.
Why is such a big portion of the world so okay with that as the explanation of life?
Because they don't think for themselves. They're told what to do or how to think.
But why aren't we?
Why aren't we?
I mean, we're part of this culture too. Why do we believe that that's ridiculous and they believe that it's not?
I think that, if you read in a science book or someone tells you this is the way it is, then you believe that.
Yeah.
Right?
But we don't.
We don't.
We can read that in the same science book.
Right.
And we're going to look at it and go, that's ridiculous.
Right.
So why do some people go, oh yeah, spot on. Yes, exactly. We don't need God. Look at this explanation. This explanation is perfect, and it doesn't need a creator.
God spoke to us.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're told.
Yes.
In our infinite wisdom.
Right.
That came from God.
Yep.
Right?
But I think God spoke to them too. But they're just not listening.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I think God shines his light on every single person that ever exists.
Okay.
But somewhere in our heart, like you brought up Romans 10:9 earlier.
Yeah.
You say you believe in the heart and confess with your mouth, right? That's a big key. You believe in the heart. And I think each person's heart is a certain condition, right? And that's what the parable of the sower talks about. Like all the different soil conditions. The same seed is thrown on all 4 different types of soil, but only one of those soils receives the seed to the point that it produces fruit, right? So that's the heart that's receptive to God, saying, "Hey, here I am. I'm the creator of the universe," and for me and you, for whatever reason, our heart said yes, and someone else's heart says, "Nah, nope, not sorry," and that's the kind of the question that always baffles me, because I think a decision is being made. I believe in free will. I think you and I have free will, but what I don't understand is why, when I was 24, something deep inside of me decided to say yes. Right? Especially somebody like me who, like I said earlier, I hated Christians.
Right.
Why would I just decide one day, you know what I'm going to become? Those people I can't stand. Let me sign up for that team. Yeah. It's like, no, I didn't want to become a Christian. But when I was 24, on that specific day, for whatever reason, I was like, okay, here we go. Right. And it's just like, so that's kind of going to be my question for God. Like, what happened there? What happened that day?
Yeah. God spoke to you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he must have.
And you listened.
And I listened.
Yeah, some people don't listen.
No. They say, nope, I don't want it.
Yeah, so you think everyone's been spoken to? Mm-hmm.
I do.
At some point?
Yeah, in some way, shape, or form. I mean, they might not realize that mentally. They might not say, oh yeah, God spoke to me and I told him to go jump in the lake. They'll say, no, God never spoke to me because God doesn't exist. And that's where they're at, right? Yeah. But like Romans 1 says, they're given over to a reprobate mind. Like their hearts are rejecting the Lord in such a way that they get to a point where even if the truth is presented right in front of them, they can't even see it anymore. Right. It's like, no, it's gone. Yeah. I can't even see that because like we're talking about evolution versus creation, and we're like, to me and you, that's the only model that makes any sense. Because like you said, we look at all this we have. We like you were mentioning a baby. Yeah. Like, okay, well, it just happens that the baby has everything it needs within the womb, and then it's born, and then all of a sudden it just happens to have everything it needs to breathe air. Yeah. And then the mom just happens to produce the one thing that baby needs to eat to stay alive for the next however many months. Yeah. Coincidence? Yeah. Please. That's design. That is clearly design of some sort. Right. Right? I mean, it just any other explanation doesn't make sense to me. Right. But, Yeah. So I think so people are born into things, right? People are born into being a Mormon. People are born in, being an atheist. Right. So I have family members that are atheists, and guess what? The kids are atheists. Yeah. Don't tell my kids about your faith. Yeah, they try to block it out. They want you to block because they don't want to accept that knowledge or the God speak. And at some point, those kids will probably be spoken to. Yeah. And the parents
probably deny their kids.
They might, yeah. Like if they become Christians,
and it's like,
they'd be like, "Oh, you're not my son anymore."
Right. That's how hard-headed, stubborn, people are. Yeah. There's no openness there. Yeah. Yep. And that's what's hard to fathom. That people are so set in their ways, they're not going to change their thoughts. Yes. But they're going to impose it on their child. Yeah. They're going to impose what they believe on their child. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I said, I want my kids to I want it to be a discovery. Yep. But I'm going to, I don't know, some people might say that I'm feeding them Christianity. Yeah, you're indoctrinating them. I'm indoctrinating them. Brainwashing. To be Christians. I'm exposing them to it. Yeah. Just like exposing your kid to playing sports. Yes. By leaving balls laying around on the ground, right? Right. It's an exposure. Yeah. And they're being exposed to atheist thoughts and culture and, worldly things and money and all these things every single day. Yeah. I'm just giving them a little exposure to being a Christian. Right. Right. And, they could form their thoughts. Yes. Right? And you want them to, right? Right. Yeah. Right. I want them to accept for themselves. I don't want them to be told they're you're a Christian and baptize them when they're 4 and years old and stuff like that. You don't want them just to believe simply because you do. Right. Right. They need to develop their own walk with the Lord and believe because they've been shown that He's real and they've seen Him at work in their own life. You know? Why are you a Christian? Because my dad is. Yeah. Well, that's the way. What reason is that? That's the way a lot of people think. You know what I mean? I know. Yeah, and so that's how it happens for a lot of religions. Yep. I think kind of a cult mentality almost. Yeah, yeah. So that's where I feel like Christianity is different than any other religion in the world, where it is not a cult. It's you can believe whatever you want to believe, but these are the things that are written. These are the things that you can believe, and these are the things you don't have to believe. Right. And you can form your own opinion about it. Yep. Yeah. And I don't know. I never got it really. I'm always been non-denominational. Even though I went to a Baptist church, I went to a Presbyterian, Orchid Presbyterian church. I went to a bunch of different denominations. I never really got into understanding the differences between all of them. Right. I know it's historical. Yeah. But that's why I've been so involved with FCA for so many years, 12 years now. Yeah. Just because it's non-denominational. There you go. And it's Romans 10:9. Yes, sir. All right, man. Are we wrapping up? We're wrapping, dude. All right. Thanks, man. That was fun. That was really cool. Yeah. I had a blast. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Don't forget to tell all of your friends, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. For feedback, you can reach me at my email, which is whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Thanks.